We are live, it reckons. Where's the screen gone to, though? Welcome to the Out There channel, live stream 193. Robert's doing some UFO cases to do with Texas tonight. And we'll see if we can just do sound check and cue the intro now. It looks like it's screwed up. Typical. That was perfect too. I have to reload the browser and reload the chat game. It worked last time too. Very hot here tonight. Looks like the summer's finally kicking in. Area 51. Hello. Good to be back. And kill the music. So yeah, and looks like we're up and running. I'll just pause that. A wee bit late after all that. You there, Robert? I heard you.
Yes, I am.
This, hopefully it's not corrupting. What cases are we doing tonight, Robert?
Levellend, 1957, and Stephenville, 2008.
Right.
Decades apart, but both very interesting.
How's your neck faring? Apparently Robert's had a bad neck since last live stream. It's been a long time, hasn't it?
Yeah. It's not too bad today though.
Well, I know what it feels like.
Yeah.
OT channel. We did do a long one last weekend though. And you were still on it probably 3 or 4 hours after. So I don't think that helped.
No.
So, UFO Texas. That's what Rob wanted for the title, but I changed it a wee bit. I can't even see one typing. Texas. There we go. John's with us. How's it going, John? Looks and sounds good. That's what we like to hear. There was a glitch though. We lost the preview window just as I hit go live. Google's still in beta stage for the streaming thing, but it is better than it used to be, isn't it? So all I have to do is reload the browser and then re-add the chat window on the side here. Bit of a pain in the bum, but that's all good. So we got some links to post, have we, Robert?
It's a good point. Hello, John, by the way.
Robert, John, and where's the counter's not working again? Don't tell me it's stuffed up. I won't be surprised. It's got a little font too, which is kind of strange. I reckon it's gone wrong again. Or Google's done something. Yes, so copy that. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's 15 witnesses in all, and there's 10 cases of cars having electrical interference.
Right. So you want me to read it out, do you? From the start?
I can't lean forward and read it, Paul.
Yeah, no. We don't want to rely too much on the reader, but...
No, I know.
It is small font. Hang on. Having a glitch. What the hell is it doing? That's a bit better. Now we can see it. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'll have to figure out what's wrong with the counters while we're reading it out.
Levellend 1957. The Levellend UFO case occurred on November 2nd, 1957 in and around the small town of Levellend, Texas. Levellend, which in 1957 had a population of about 10,000, is located west of Lubbock on the flat prairie of the Texas Panhandle. The case is considered by ufologists to be one of the most impressive in UFO history, mainly because of the large number of witnesses involved over a relatively short period of time. The incident began late on the evening of November the 2nd when two immigrant farm workers, Pedro Saucedo and Joe Solis, called the Levellend Police Department to report a UFO sighting. Saucedo told police officer Raj Fowler, who was working the night desk at the police station, that they had been driving 4 miles west of Levellend when they saw a blue flash of light near the road. They claimed their truck's engine died, and a rocket-shaped object rose up and approached the truck. According to Saucedo, I jumped out of the truck and hit the dirt because I was afraid. I called to Joe, but he didn't get out. The thing passed directly over my truck with a great sound and rush of wind. It sounded like thunder and my truck rocked from the flash. I felt a lot of heat. As the object moved away, the truck's engine restarted and worked normally. Believing the story to be a joke, Fowler ignored it. An hour later, motorist Jim Wheeler reported a brilliantly lit, egg-shaped object, about 200 feet long, was sitting in the road, 4 miles east of Levellend, blocking his path. He claimed his vehicle died, and as he got out of his car, the object took off and its lights went out. As it moved away, Wheeler's car restarted and worked normally.
We forgot to point out the location here, but let's see, we've got a map here.
Well, you've got
Is that the right one?
You had Lubbock. You had Lubbock. That's very close. So Levellend has to be damn close.
So we're zoomed from space into America here. So it's like middle way, really. And there it is, there, little.
Yeah.
I think it's probably like used to be a country town, was it? Like a rural...
It was indeed, yeah. More than likely still is.
There'd be a lot of oil fields there, is it? What's all this? We've got irrigation ponds. Yeah, this certainly built up there. What's the pictures we got for it? Wasn't really any pictures for it either, was there? Wasn't
not
really
a big issue.
No. 1957. I guess someone would have drawn some pictures though, you would have thought.
Well, as we're about to find out, it was poorly investigated, you know, by Blue Book. Made a right mess of it.
Yeah. Okay, that one. And also I'm going to email the guy. It looks like the counters have gone down. So I'll read out the next bit and I'll send an email to him. He might be awake. A bit early in the morning there in America though. So these are the guys. Levellend Flaming Thing brings world lock-in at city store. What was the guy's name again?
Yeah.
Sheriff?
Sheriff, yeah. Sheriff Weir Clem.
Yeah.
And there's Pedro Fido and Ronald Martin.
Pedro. Ronald, yeah.
Pedro.
Which is Mexican, isn't it?
Well, that's why they didn't take his testimony too seriously, unfortunately.
Right. Yeah, we've got to get around that problem.
They've done that.
Yeah, there was a lot of bias back in the 1950s with colour of skin.
Yeah, there was indeed, yeah.
And not trusting people that's not white sort of thing. But just read out the next bit. I'll email this guy.
At 10:55 p.m. a married couple driving northeast of Levellend reported that they saw a bright flash of light moving across the sky and their headlights and radio died for 3 seconds. 5 minutes later, Jose Alvarez claimed he met the strange object sitting on the road 11 miles north of Levellend, and his vehicle's engine died until the object departed. At 12:05 a.m., November the 3rd, a Texas Technological College, now Texas Tech University, student named Newell Wright was surprised when, driving 10 miles east of Levellend, his car engine began to sputter, the ammeter on the dash jumped to discharge and then back to normal, and the motor started cutting out like it was out of gas. The car rolled to a stop. Then the headlights dimmed and several seconds later went out. When he got out to check on the problem, he saw a 100-foot-long, egg-shaped object sitting in the road. It took off, and his engine started running again. At 12:15 a.m. Officer Fowler received another call, this time from a farmer named Frank Williams, who claimed he had encountered a brightly glowing object sitting in the road, and, as his car approached it, its lights went out and its motor stopped. The object flew away, and his car's lights and motor started working again. Other callers were Ronald Martin at 12:45 a.m. and James Long at 1:15 a.m., and they both reported seeing a brightly lit object sitting in the road in front of them, and they also claimed that their engines and headlights died until the object flew away.
Hang on, I'm just doing multiple things here. I'll cue the next bit. So, reads out a fair bit here, doesn't it? I don't know if we can highlight that. That's a graphic, isn't it?
Yeah. Hold on. Can you just go to the top of that that document there, please, Paul?
All right.
Okay, that's fine.
It's not very clear though.
No, that's not the important. But what you'll see, this is the Air Force Office of Special Investigations, which is the intelligence branch of the Air Force. So this is separate to Blue Book. So it's interesting to see that they had a look at it as well. That's not a Blue Book document. The OSIC.
Headquarters of United States Air Force. So read out the next bit then.
Yeah.
By this time, several Levellend police officers were actively investigating the incident. Among them was Sheriff Weir Clem, who saw a brilliant red object moving across the sky at 1:30 a.m. At 1:45 a.m., Levellend's fire chief, Ray Jones, also saw the object and his vehicle's lights and engine sputtered. The sightings apparently ended soon after this incident. During the night of November the 2nd, 3, the Levellend Police Department received a total of 15 phone calls concerning the strange object, and Officer Fowler noted that everybody who called was very excited. Report on the Levellend incident by KTFW Television's Richard Ray.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And what's this thing here? News.
There's another thing that we need to take into account here. I think that 9 of the witnesses that seen this, they did phone in, but they didn't reveal their names. They held their names back, which is understandable in that day and age, as it still is today.
I have done this case before, but we'll talk about that on the debunking side of things. But we'll just keep
leave that till the end. Maybe you weren't fully aware of the details of the case. Yeah, you need to get the whole lot of that pulled from the top there.
Yeah, I know. It's just playing up. Oh, there's a big chunk.
It does.
There's a big chunk, yeah.
That's okay. That's good.
Well, I sent an email to the guy. Hopefully he's awake. I think it's about 7 a.m. in New York at the moment, so I don't know what side of America he's in. He won't be up, I don't think. He'd be a gamer. Okay, next bit. Yep.
The Levellend sightings received national publicity and were soon investigated by Project Blue Book. Started in 1947 as Project Seeinng, Project Blue Book was the official US Air Force research group assigned to investigate UFO reports. An Air Force sergeant was sent to Levellend and spent 7 hours in the city investigating the incident. After interviewing 3 of the eyewitnesses, Saucedo, Wheeler, and Wright, and after learning that thunderstorms were present in the area earlier in the day, the Air Force investigator concluded that a severe electrical storm, most probably ball lightning or St. Elmo's fire, was the major cause for the sightings, and reported auto failures. According to UFO historian Curtis Peebles, the Air Force found only 3 persons who had witnessed the blue light. There was no uniform description of the object. Additionally, Project Blue Book believed that Saucedo's account could not be relied upon. He had only a grade school education and had no concept of direction, and was conflicting in his answers. In view of the stormy weather conditions, an electrical phenomenon such as ball lightning or St. Elmo's fire seemed to be the most probable cause. The engine failures mentioned by the eyewitnesses were blamed on wet electrical circuits. Dr. Donald H. Menzel, a professor of astronomy at Harvard University and a prominent UFO researcher of that era, agreed with the Air Force explanation. Members of civilian saucer groups complained that, since the Air Force investigator had spent only 7 hours in the area, he had obviously not taken the problem seriously and could not have found the correct solution. Even 70 hours of labor, however, could not have produced a clearer picture. The evidence leads to an overwhelming probability the fiery unknown at Levellend was ball lightning. Dr. Menzel argued that, in Levellend on the night of November the 2nd, conditions were ideal for the formation of ball lightning. For several days the area had been experiencing freak weather, and on the night in question had been visited by rain, thunderstorms and lightning. Menzel admitted that, since ball lightning is short-lived and cannot be preserved as tangible evidence, its appearance on the night of November the 2nd can never be absolutely proved. However, he also argued that only the saucer proponents could have converted so trivial a series of events, a few stalled automobiles, balls of flame in the sky at the end of the thunderstorm, into a national mystery.
Yeah.
So where's all our UK followers tonight? It's very quiet. So they've got a map here which we already brought up. So next bit. Oh, another big chunk. Oh, getting down to Dr. Hynek, and that's where it starts to get a bit more interesting. But back then, Hynek was...
he was the debunker, yes.
Yes, he was the debunker.
No, I don't know.
He hadn't changed.
However, not everyone agreed with the Air Force explanation. Critics of the Air Force explanation pointed out that the Air Force investigator did not interview 9 of the 15 witnesses, nor were they mentioned in Blue Book's final report on the incident. In later years, 2 prominent UFO researchers, Dr. James E. McDonald, a physicist at the University of Arizona, and Drive J. Alan Hynek, an astronomer at Northwestern University and, at the time, a top scientific consultant to Project Blue Book, would also dispute the Air Force ball lightning/electrical storm explanation. Both men argued that there was no electrical storm in the area when the sightings occurred. Dr. Hynek wrote that, as the person responsible for the tracking of the new Soviet satellite Sputnik, I was on a virtual around-the-clock duty and was unable to give it any attention whatever. I am not proud today that I hastily concurred in the Air Force's evaluation as ball lightning on the basis of information that an electrical storm had been in progress in the Levellend area at the time. This was shown not to be the case. Observers reported overcast and mist but no lightning. Hynek also noted that, had I given it any thought whatsoever, I would soon have recognized the absence of any evidence that ball lightning can stop cars and put out headlights. In 1999, UFO researcher Antonio Ruland published a detailed analysis of the Levellend sightings. After examining various weather records and the competing claims of the Air Force, Dr. McDonald, and others, he concluded that there was no severe thunderstorm in Levellend during the time of the sightings. There could have been a few clouds with light rain in Levellend despite no rain being reported at the nearby Lubbock weather station. Ruland also added that conditions for scattered lightning, however, cannot be discounted. Lightning conditions did exist, and that data sheets from the U.S. Weather Bureau show that thunder and lightning were observed in nearby Lubbock 1 hour after the sightings ended.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay. So McDonald, he thoroughly debunked the ball lightning explanation. He took, and he was an atmospheric physicist, one of the best. And well, he took Menzel and Hynek apart basically on that concept of ball lightning. Of course, it was only later, I think, in the 60s that Hynek actually said, yeah, well, I didn't even look into the case, to be honest. And of course, yeah, it didn't fit. But at the time, I was towing the company line, and I had no choice but to go along with it.
Yeah. Yeah, you only get ball lightning and stormy clouds, don't you?
I'm very skeptical about ball lightning.
Yeah.
The period, to be honest, you know.
Well, it's like UFOs. We've never seen it ourselves, have we? So.
Well, there's actually more potential of UFOs than there's ball lightning.
Oh, what's going on there?
It's the dog.
Yeah,
He's
I know.
seen something out there that he doesn't like, and he's not happy.
Oh, yeah. He's trying to let himself out, I guess.
He's trying to go through the window.
Oh dear.
There's not a lot I can do.
Well, it's at the bottom there. We got some other information here. Let's see.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And there's the Hynek explanation there. If you just click on the link, you see.
I'll just read out that bit there first.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
To read Drive J, Alan Hynek's report on the Levellend case, click here. In March 2002, Dallas-based television station KDFW aired a report about the Levellend UFO case. Reporter Richard Ray's piece recounts how at least 15 people, including Sheriff Weir Clem, claimed to have seen this strange object. Ray spoke to Weir's widow and friends, who believe that the lawman definitely saw something unusual. The story also detailed the investigation and controversial conclusion issued by the Air Force that weather phenomena known as ball lightning was to blame.
Yeah, I don't think ball lightning stalls cars, though.
No. Well, no, another thing, you know, that one of the witnesses claimed that the object landed on the road in front of him. When it was in the air, it was a blue color. When it landed, it changed to a red color. When it lifted again, it changed back to blue. So obviously, there's something going. He said it was, well, elliptical, like an elongated egg, if you like. You could even call it tic-tac shape, couldn't you? But it was big. It covered both sides of the road, and then it shot off at tremendous speed.
Well, unless we got drawing of it from the witnesses, we have no clue, have we, really?
This is the bungle that the Blue Book made. They're probably out there somewhere. But the Blue Book only interviewed 3 out of the 15 witnesses.
So what other theories would it be, though? Have we got more to come? because I remember there was a wee bit suspicion about the credibility of the witnesses, and also apparently the car in question was having mechanical problems, or actually electrical problems with the circuit for starting it.
Yeah. The fan belt was loose, blah, blah, blah. But 10 different cars having the same problem in the proximity of UFOs. Come on, I think it's the writing's on the wall there, isn't it? Whatever that thing was, obviously interfered with the engines. I mean, to come to any other conclusion is madness.
Well, how many cars did they have on the roads back then for having 10 cars have failures?
Well, there was a population of 10,000, Paul.
Yeah. But does it mean...
all the witnesses were independent of each other. Nobody knew each other.
I think there was a Skeptoid report where he said it was within stats that 10 cars would have faults on that particular day. But did they all have the same problem though? The electrical system.
Well, yeah, it seems this is the unusual thing that as soon as the object left the vicinity, the car automatically restarted. They didn't have to turn the ignition on again.
Sounds like Close Encounters of the Third Kind movie. So you want me to go to that link there?
Yeah, you can have a look at that. But it's a bit more of the same, you know.
Mm-hmm. So, this is all Hynix stuff, isn't it? Okay, so there's not much there really, but we'll just start reading it out. Comments delivered to a hypo-velocity impact conference. What the hell's that?
Well, yeah, he's talking about the Sputnik thing they were studying, Hynek was studying at the time. I mean, he was only a consultant to Blue Book. He was also doing his own stuff as well.
What's interesting, though, is... what's his name? Jack Valet was... if you have a read of his wiki, he was saying that he was working for NASA, and apparently they recorded an object in orbit even before they had rockets in space. And some guy come into the the control room and took the tape with all the recordings off. Oh no, that's right. The guy come in and he told them to wipe it with the erase head because it was reel to reel back in those days, reel to reel tapes where it recorded all the data and tracking off the how they got those big wall charts with whereabouts the orbit is around Earth and all that sort of stuff. So they got they had some way of tracking objects in space at that stage. Probably using ground-based RF antennas. Probably
they did.
Yeah. So that would be really good if Valet was a bit more open and we could get him on here to ask him questions about all that, to see how was it tracked and all that sort of. We could ask him all the technical stuff because he's meant to be the technical man, isn't he? But he was the character in Close Encounters, the Frenchman that does do 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 the music and all that.
That's it. Yeah, he did play a cameo role in that, didn't he?
Yeah. So we'll just read out this here anyway. I'll start from here, I guess. Yes, but apparently Valet doesn't like doing interviews, and he has. When he did Martin's show recently, he said he could only do voice, he wouldn't come on camera, and you'd only do 30 minutes, and he would only talk about the new movie, which people out there haven't heard, is Witness to Another World. Apparently, it's already come out. It already come out in December 2018 in, is it Spanish language? And now it's been adapted for English audience. So I think it only made like $21,000.
I think it was in Argentina, wasn't it? So it would have been in Spanish, yes.
Yeah, but that's all the hype. I think that's come out to 2 days time. 2 days time, I think it is. It comes out where you can download it and watch it. But 22nd of October. So we'll keep an eye out for that. But it's kind of a crazy story, that. But we won't talk about it. We'll just carry on here.
Comments delivered to the Hypervelocity Impact Conference banquet at Levellend Air Force Base on April the 27th, 1960. J. Allen Hynek, November the 2nd, 1957, Levellend, Texas. At 10:50 the police station received a call from a local farmhand and part-time barber, Pedro Saucedo, a symbolic name, and his companion Joe Solis. The story: we first saw a flash of light in the field to our right, and we didn't think much about it. Then it rose up out of the field and started toward us, picking up speed. When it got nearer, the lights of my truck went out and the motor died. I jumped out and hit the deck as the thing passed directly over the truck with a great sound and a rush of wind. It sounded like thunder, and my truck dropped from the blast. I felt a lot of heat. Then I got up and watched it go out of sight toward Levellend. Saucedo said the object was torpedo-shaped like a rocket and estimated it as 200 feet long. Afraid to return to Levellend for fear of encountering it again, the two men drove on to Whitey Face, 10 miles west of Levellend, where they phoned in their report. Although Saucedo sounded terrified, the officer on duty did not at that time take the report seriously. But an hour later the police got another telephone report. Jim Wheeler, about 4 miles east of Levellend, had seen a blazing 200-foot egg-shaped object sitting on the road ahead of him. At the same time, his car lights went out and his motor died. The object rose and disappeared. A few minutes later came a call from Witteral, 10 miles north-northeast of Levellend. Jose Alvarez reported that his limits and motor had gone dead as he drove near a bright, egg-shaped object on the road. At 12:15 a.m. Frank Williams of Kermit, Texas, reported a similar encounter in the same area. While the officials were out investigating and, incidentally, reporting strange lights themselves, the police station received a call from James Long, who reported that at 1:15 a.m. he had been driving on a farm road 5 miles NW of Levellend when he came upon a 200-foot-long, egg-shaped mass that glowed like a neon sign. His engine coughed and died, and his lights went out. As he got out and approached the object, which was less than 100 yards away, it suddenly took off straight upwards. After the object was gone, his engine started easily. These engine stoppings, we remember, also occurred in the French incidents. The next day 2 more witnesses reported to the police that they had encountered a UFO. Texas freshman was approaching Levellend at 12:05 a.m. when he noticed his amateur jump to discharge, and back then his motor quit as if it were out of gas and the lights went out. He got out and looked under the hood but could find nothing wrong. Turning around he saw on the road ahead an egg-shaped object with a flattened bottom like a loaf of bread and glowing not as bright as neon. No portholes or propellers were visible. Frightened, Wright got back into his car and tried to start it, but without success. After a few minutes, the egg rose almost straight up, veered slightly to the north and disappeared from view in a split instant. After it was gone, the car started normally.
Hi guys, on the side chat, Dell and Renee. How's it going?
Here. Nice.
We're wondering where you got to. Unfortunately, our counters are down at the moment, and the guy is probably in bed, so he can't reboot the server. But yeah, so it's quite interesting, this report here about the egg-shaped thing. I can't help to notice that that's sort of similar to the Socorro one. So
there was also that the first witness heard that loud swooshing sound as it took off as well.
You don't think it could be another strange egg-shaped helicopter by any chance?
No, I don't. Don't think it was a helicopter. No, I don't think helicopters cut out car engines first. That
it could be some experimental thing the Russians were working on, though.
The Russians, they've flown a helicopter all the way from Russia to Levellend to cut out a few cars in the countryside.
Well, it might have been one of these jet planes that has also liftoff, vertical liftoff. Who knows? But
okay, Paul.
So yeah, so it said it's egg shaped with a flat bottom there. So that's kind of different, though.
Yeah,
that does sound like a saucer of sort, doesn't it? But they didn't say it looked like the boomerang shapes that Arnold saw back in 1947, was it? Well, actually, it was a bit earlier than that, wasn't it, for him? 46, was it? 42 or something? What was it again, the dates for Arnold's sighting?
Arnold's sighting was, I think it was the 14th of June, 47. It was a couple of weeks before
It was the same.
Roswell, anyway.
It was the same, yeah, okay. Yeah, I was just checking. So it was probably when everybody was in bed here at midnight, right? So,
well, all the sightings happened in a 2-hour time frame,
right?
And of course, there was 15 witnesses, but they're the ones that phoned in. So they could have been 50, they could have been 100. We don't know.
The other thing I noticed here,
how many people?
It's quite big. 200 foot is quite big.
Yeah.
Because normally most people talk about sources being 30 to 40 feet. So this is a quite big craft, whatever it is. And no one was abducted, as far as I understand. But who knows?
No, I don't think there was any reports of missing time.
No. Of course, it was badly researched, this one, though.
Yeah.
Like a loaf of bread. So really, you could picture one of those old-fashioned bread tins that you have where you have it curved out the thing. And
yeah,
so
that's a good comparison, that. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, was there anything else that you wanted to talk about this case or not?
Yeah, there's another tab that I think is worth looking at, and it's just how badly it was handled.
Yeah. I know Skeptoid put something out, so it might be worth just bringing that one up again. Because I did cover it in the past, but I did it with Hangouts on Air, which corrupts the screen and all that sort of business. We're on a better setup now.
Yeah, but you know me, I'm kind of finished with Skeptoid after that last revelation.
Well, not really, because he cuts and pastes it from newspaper clippings and stuff. It's only his opinion that doesn't count, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
But if he puts clippings in from various sources, which might be hard to find now, or he's typed it up from a newspaper clipping that's not actually searchable, I still find that's quite valuable. Even if he's like a field class act. Yeah. So did you want to post up your one? Or
yeah, sure.
I'll search otherwise.
Yes.
Robert's got a sore neck, so he's just trying not to bend his neck too much.
Oh, it's not nice.
No. My neck is clicking.
Oh, hi Jenny.
Yeah, Renee's been sitting there. But the next one is probably more involved. The next case we're going to do. We've been doing 38 minutes on this already.
We're going to go a bit over an hour on this one, I think. But not too much over the hour.
Let's see. Is that one?
Okay.
Yep.
You got the link, Paul?
Yep, certainly have. It's a really double-spaced character set here. And the Condon Committee. So you want me to just read that out? Oh, come on. Oh, it's got a bit there. Still another page to go. Okay, let's see how that goes.
The Levellend sightings on the Condon Committee. I had always wondered why the Condon Committee, that University of Colorado study of UFOs financed by the Air Force, which is to say us, never bothered looking into the Levellend UFO sightings of November 1957. In their final report there is a single mention of Levellend in which they report magnetic mapping of automobiles involved in particularly puzzling UFO reports of past years. such as the November 1957 incidents in Levellend, Texas, would have been the Levellend sign. Photo copyright by Kevin Randall. Most desirable, but the cars were no longer available. An interesting idea, and the scientists working with Condon had pointed out that the manufacture of the car's steel components such as hoods and doors would have created a magnetic signature. Even if the cars involved in the incidents had not been mapped prior to the sighting, those manufactured at the same time, at the same place, would have a magnetic signature that matched those from the UFO event. It meant that the magnetic signature of all the cars was similar, and any major deviation would have been significant. They did follow up on this, after a fashion. They reported that two of their investigators, Fred Hooven and David Moyer, actually part of the Ford Motor Company, investigated a case No. 12 in the official report from the winter of 1967, in which a woman said that a lighted UFO hovered over her car for several miles and that it interfered with the electrical functions of her car. Hooven and Moyer said that an examination of the car some 2 months later found all the electrical systems working as they should, and that they discovered no magnetic anomalies when they magnetically mapped the automobile. I will note here that it seemed a real effort was made to investigate the case, including extensive examination of the car by Ford engineers. What they found was a car in poor repair with a radio antenna that was broken so that it only picked up the local stations, a fan belt that was loose so that it was not charging properly, that the speedometer had been broken, repaired and apparently broken again so that there were speed functions on the dashboard display, and that oil gauge was malfunctioning because of leakage in the electrical system. In other words, it seemed that everything the witness had reported about car trouble was related to the car itself and not some sort of outside influence such as the hovering UFO.
Yeah, so that's, I think Skeptoid also put this clipping up, actually.
Yeah.
So they're saying the car was in poor shape and couldn't really say whether it would be a UFO causing the problem.
Now, that would be fine. That would be no issue at all if it was an isolated incident. But when 10 cars get stopped, all in vicinity of a UFO, then you have to use a bit of Occam's razor then, don't you?
Yeah. Has Randall got a saying on this one, is it? Is this Randall?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. This is his blog.
Alright.
And he's well grounded.
Yeah. So we'll just read out that bit.
That is Hooven and Moyer, reported that she seemed to be a nice woman who was not prone to hysteria and who was competent, meaning, I suppose, that she was intelligent and wasn't mentally ill in some way. However, they noted that her memories of the UFO incident were not without problems, including that she remembered a bright, full moon when it was actually in its last quarter, and that though she claimed to have seen the UFO in her rearview mirror, the configuration of the car and the placement of the mirror meant that the UFO couldn't have been seen in the way she described. There was a second case, No. 39, from the fall of 1967, and in a location noted as the South Pacific, that had somewhat similar results. Again, the Condon Committee doesn't supply the name of the witness, only that he was a businessman who said that his car had been stopped by a UFO sometime between 3:30 and 4 a.m. The lights failed and the radio went dead. He also reported that he felt something pressing down on his head and shoulders. Through a break in the fog, he saw a UFO that passed over his car and stopped, hovering over the highway. He thought it was about 30 feet in diameter, red-orange, saucer-shaped but with a fuzzy outline. It had rotating lights and wobbled as it moved and hovered about 160 feet above the ground. He watched it for about a minute and a half before it took off into the fog. When it was gone, the radio came back on, the lights brightened and he was able to start his car. Note here that he had to take an action. The car did not spontaneously restart. Once he had started the car, he drove to the nearest town in search of someone to talk to. He didn't find any additional witnesses. Eventually the case made its way to NICAP. That investigation showed that the car's clock had stopped at 3:46 a.m. and, according to the unnamed witness, the clock had been working perfectly prior to the sighting. Interestingly, they found that stereo tapes that had been in the car at the time of the sighting had lost some of their fidelity, especially in the lower ranges, and that the rear window had some sort of distortion in the glass. The Condon Committee investigation was carried out by Roy Craig, who recorded the interviews with the witness and gathered additional details. In this case they found a car of similar manufacture and engaged in a magnetic mapping of the hoods of both. There were a couple of points where the magnetic signature differed significantly, but for the most part, the magnetic signatures of the two cars were similar.
Yeah, so to me, there was a big opportunity missed here.
Mm.
You see what I mean? If you could have found a correlation between all those cases, then we might have actually had something scientific, you know, something material, you know, that you could use as evidence. But it didn't happen, did it?
Yeah. But the problem with old cases like this, it's really hard to get.
But they weren't old at the time, Paul. That's the whole thing. Yeah, you know, the science was there at the time. The technology was there at the time to have a good close look at this. I mean, maybe it has been done, and it's just not privy to us.
I suppose most of the people that saw the UFO will be dead now too, so you can't go and
Oh yeah,
interview them.
absolutely. 1957. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, and of course, magnetic mapping. You want the car there the day after, you know, or a few weeks after, or as close to the incident as possible to get the proper signature.
Yeah. What's going on here?
This is Randall's whole point here. It's an opportunity missed.
Yep.
Plus, he's telling you it's obviously a complete cover-up for the Condon Committee,
well,
which was only designed really to close down Blue Book.
Yeah, it's kind of strange that Seeinng didn't interview all the people there, you know? Because he seemed to be, like, thorough on his investigations, so...
Blue Book wasn't then, you know. It just wasn't that way then. You have to remember that Blue Book was a public relations exercise, a total dog and pony show, to be honest. And Seeinng knew that himself.
Right.
And he actually enjoyed the debunking part of it. He freely admitted, you know, after he got out of there, and he, you know, became a believer. He knew the best reports were going elsewhere because he'd spoken to people off the record, and you know, they were saying, "Did you report it?"
Yeah.
Or Seeinng was asking, "Did you report that incident?" And he said, "Yes." And he said, "Well, it hasn't come to Blue Book." And the witness was saying, "Well, I don't know where it's gone, but I've reported it." So he realised there was something going on.
Yeah.
There was another project running alongside Blue Book, but we'll never know what that is now.
Well, it seems that they were always studying UFOs from what we hear now.
Yeah, definitely.
They just renamed it or moved it from department to another.
Yeah, and yeah, then it gets lost, which is the whole intention.
So we'll just read out the next bits then, I guess.
Okay.
What I found interesting is that Craig reported that the radio's FM band no longer worked, though, according to the witness, it had been fine until the sighting. 5 days after the sighting, all that could be heard was a loud hum across the whole FM spectrum. And, now, according to the witness, he was no longer certain that the clock had been working in the days prior to the sighting. The clock stoppage might not have been relevant. Craig was bothered by the witness's vague description of the object, and with the inconsistencies in his estimates of the size and distance as they were determined later by measurement. He was also worried that no one else had seen the object, and that the car didn't seem to show an exposure to a strong magnetic field. Craig wrote, "Car body did not show evidence of exposure to strong magnetic fields. A more detailed investigation of this event as a source related to electromagnetic effect on automobiles did not seem warranted. These were the only cases of reported electromagnetic effects stalling cars, but they did look into other aspects such as power outages caused by UFOs. In their research of several of these blackouts, they could not establish a causal relationship." In other words, The evidence didn't support the idea that a UFO had been location of the first Levellend sighting. Photo copyright by Kevin Randall. Responsible FO.
Where did we get to there? So lost the way now. Photograph must be here. Yeah, looks like a bit of a dry dust bed there on that photograph. Location of the first Levellend
If you
sighting.
just go down to, so I did, hold on a minute, I did a count down,
I see it's got big power lines here as well.
There's there.
But so that doesn't rule out if there was bad weather, a lightning strike would probably stall the car. But then, even so,
Well, we don't even know that for sure. I've never heard of lightning stopping a car. Have you?
Well, the rubber tires should insulate it technically, shouldn't it? So it should be. Yeah. I don't know. I've never tried it.
10 cars in a space of 2 hours.
Yeah.
All seeing UFOs at the same time.
Yeah.
Could use a bit of common sense there, yeah. But I mean that photograph you're looking at there, whatever it is, that's not Levellend.
Well, that's what I was saying here. The first sighting.
Oh, okay, right. Okay, fair enough. So there's power lines there.
I think I can see an oil rig in the background there, or couple actually.
Whether they're in the day though, I don't know.
I'm not sure what that says
poison
here.
Gas.
Yeah, because it's mining there, you see, oil. So you're obviously going to get methane gas leaks and stuff, aren't you? Yeah, I'm not sure how you could count for egg-shaped UFO being ball lightning.
No, not at all.
Or lightning strike, but it does sound like the Close Encounters of the third kind got a lot of the ideas of the car stalling and restarting up again from this story here in 1957. So where did we get down to? Seeing object for the light. Not sure if it read all that out there properly, but we'll just grab.
It's okay. You can skip quite a bit here, Paul.
Randall's pretty good to listen to, though.
He is, yes.
He's normally pretty thorough in what he does, but he's a bit flip-floppy when it comes to alien abductions, wasn't it, and some other things.
Oh, he was all against that at one time. He didn't believe it at all.
Yeah, he kept changing his mind,
now
doesn't
he's
he?
come on side.
The purpose here, however, was to try to understand why the Condon Committee seemed to ignore the Levellend case. It differed from those they did investigate because it had multiple, independent witnesses, and included law enforcement officers among those who had seen the object or the light. The papers, documents, research, rough drafts and other material collected during the project were eventually sent to the American Philosophical Society Library. It turns out that they did make a study of the Levellend case, though it seemed to have been based solely on the Project Blue Book files, what NICAP reported, and what was found in Dallas Times-Herald newspaper. Although there seemed to have been no original research, meaning they didn't interview any of the witnesses and noted that the vehicles involved couldn't be located, I have to wonder if this was just an excuse. Though 10 years had passed and the effort to locate those vehicles would have been extremely difficult, they didn't take their investigation any further. It amounted to a synopsis of the sources quoted, a short discussion on areas of further investigation that was only about related weather phenomena, especially ball lightning, which was the Air Force final conclusion, none of which made it into the final report.
Oh, I've run out already.
Okay.
I've used 20 minutes, have we? Yeah, it would have been too. Oh well. So we got down to the report here. That's alright, we got the American voice that will give us another 5,000. Else I might have to start reading out some.
It's okay, I might have to do it as well.
Ah, look, he's going to that side thing. Bugger off. I think I got it this time.
Yeah.
At the end of the Condon Levellend report, there was a series of hypotheses suggesting solutions. This seems to have been taken almost directly from an Air Force document about the case. They simply did not bother to follow up on this case, though they noted its importance. There were multiple witnesses to the suppression of the electrical system made independently, and there were multiple witnesses who reported an actual, physical object either close to the ground or sitting on the ground. In the end, I'm unsure of the motives here. We know that Condon was instructed about the conclusions of his study prior to the beginning of the work, and we know that he adhered to those instructions. We see evidence in other aspects of this research where solid leads were virtually ignored, Shag Harbor. Though it could be argued that the Canadian case fell outside the scope of their project, and we see that sometimes they gave little more than lip service to the investigation. I had thought we had find some more evidence of the committee ignored a solid case, but given the circumstances, it might just have been impossible for them to do more than they did with Levellend.
Where did we get to? Levellend. Oh, I think it must be near the end then.
Yeah.
In the end, I just lost the way where it was. I selected.
It's okay. All you need to do is play that this
Oh,
last
right here.
these.
I found it. It's just that I lost
Okay.
way on the tracking nut.
Yeah.
Last paragraph.
Yeah.
However, the Levellend case provided some interesting dynamics such as the craft interacting with the environment, multiple independent witnesses, and an opportunity for some scientific investigation. It suggested that they look a little deeper into this idea of electromagnetic interference, which they did, sort of. Instead, they found a way to ignore Levellend and move on to other aspects of their research. This was at best a missed opportunity and at worst just another example of how not to actually conduct research.
Indeed.
Yeah. Indeed. Yes. I mean, there's so many other cases of electrical, interference, and it's not just with cars; it's with aircraft as well. I mean, with aircraft, you only have to look at the 1976 Iranian incident, don't you? And
You
to
think-
look at more cars, we've already covered the Cartel incident, while the cars stalled on Brooklyn Bridge.
But you'd think
it's no coincidence. It's happened too many times.
you'd think the U.S. military would take this more seriously, because you don't know if it's a Russian invasion or intrusion, or whatever that word is, where they come into the airspace.
They could have seen it that way at the time, yeah, surely, but we know now it obviously wasn't.
So, blue UFOs. I'm not sure if any of these comments are any worth reading here. What's he saying here? They had to know what it was, in my opinion, whether us on alien or alien. Oh, right, whether us or alien. If you take national defense seriously, you can't just let it go. That's what I was saying. The lack of research doesn't bother me, though. Maybe they cover neat anomalies, but I really doubt they were going to discover anything conclusive. Okay. What's this other guy saying here? Prior to the advent of the transistorized electronics in autos, radios were vacuum tube based. Yeah, they're probably a bit power hungry, weren't they? Vacuum tubes are notoriously resistant to damaging RF interference, even from microwave radiation. They said it's possible to damage a car radio remotely. Yes, if it's transistorized, it's also possible to temporarily disable but not damage a car radio. Whether the US military had such technology at the time of the incidents is an open question. I wouldn't judge the reliability of the witnesses based on the opinion that they were talking about impossible things. But if it killed the battery, though, that would kill the radio. Kill the whole car,
Well,
right?
the battery wasn't killed because it was still alive, and there was never any faults found in the engines afterwards. I mean, that's in multiple cases over multiple countries now. It doesn't actually damage them; it just disables them over the time period that they're present.
Yes, I think it comes down to Tesla's research here about not all electricity is electron flow. He's always said that, and that's why he was looking at radiant energy and wireless power. So yeah, certainly a lot of science involved there. I would have thought for Hynek to get his teeth into. What else we got down here? Anything useful? There are plenty of indicators and people who claim by the mid-1950s we had developed early prototype sources with revolutionary propulsion systems. Well, there was a lot of good photographs from the 1950s. I actually got a video called UFOs Over Time. I'm not sure if people have seen it or not, where it goes through some of the
like
best.
The Agdo car. That thing
through...
had to be tethered down. They couldn't get more than 5 feet off the ground.
No, these are just UFOs that people had snapshots. So it goes from, I think the very first one's 1890 or something like that. It goes all the way up to the 2010 or 14 or something like that. It's a quite long episode. Let's see. So if you want to have a look how the common shape of UFOs that have been photographed didn't really change much. The Mexican hat is still very common, and then the triangles seem to come around probably in the 70s,
early 80s.
Maybe the late 70s. I'd have to look at it again.
The first real stuff about the triangles was which we covered last week was
over
Hudson Valley.
Let's see if I can find it. I can actually do quite a good zoom in on the pictures as well. Here you go, UFOs, aka UAPs throughout the ages. I'll just post a link to that one there. And looks like Robert's having a small break. So it took me a wee while to put this one together. I think it's got like 100 photographs taken over the years, and I had to put it in time order, and then I had to zoom in on it. So 47 minutes, you can see it's quite big. I'll just see if I can bring it up. I'll mute it there. So I'll just skim it a wee bit here. So this is basically what I did here. That one looks like a light on a wire to me though, this one. So some of them could be fakes, of course. This kind of strange looking one there. You can see how bad photographs and how scratchy the film gets back in those days. 1940s. Foo Fighter one. China, 1942. There again, I think I could see a cable going across here. See, I did this a long time ago before I really was into graphic analyzing. But now I look for things. It's almost like common sense to me. But these Foo Fighter ones, yeah, we don't know much about them still. Apart from they were just like weren't they a blue ball of light as well? Yeah. So here's another one, looks like it might be a light on a wire, you see. This one's not looking like much either, is it? It's a 1947 here. Catalina Island, that kind of looks like a tic-tac. Alaska, that looks more like classic saucer one, but you can't see much detail. And this one here we looked at too.
It's Heflin.
Trent, was it? Trent, the guy was called
No,
Trent.
I think that's one of the Heflin photos that looked like it anyway. 1965, I believe.
And that's the one that they said it was like a truck mirror hanging from a fishing line. That one's the Lubbock, Texas one.
That's not a genuine. That's not a genuine photograph. That's an artist's illustration. That.
Oh, was it? Apparently, it was meant to be in a collection of real photographs. So.
Okay.
So I don't know. Like I said, I put this together back in February 2007. Since then, I've learnt a lot more about analyzing photographs, and we know this one's a lens flare reflection now.
Yeah.
You know, if I knew it was a fake, I would have put a little line at the bottom here saying it was fake. This one, I'm not too sure about. To me, it looks like it could be...
Is that the Lubbock lights?
Sullen one. I thought it might be lights in a parking lot there.
Oh, yeah, Salem, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not too sure about that one. But yeah, it's quite interesting going through all these old videos. This one looks like it's got a contrail coming off it, so...
Exactly. It's got an exhaust, so
it's
no
probably some rocket test, probably that one. That one there, I don't know, but it looks like it's cropped off a wee bit here, doesn't it? So it's kind of strange.
Yeah, that's Heflin again.
No, it's a different one. New Jersey, 1952. Brazil. Not the best of photographs there. We know this one. We've seen this one before. It looked like that's just a cloud, I think. But yeah, I just put them in order. Meant to be genuine UFO videos. This one too, I think we've seen before. Possibly a bird. You know, the bird shape. I don't know. Quite strange. And that one looks like a saucer shape, doesn't it? New York, 1955. Don't know what that is. Looks like the Millennium Falcon, doesn't it? This one looks just like a cutout cookie cutter. But you can see some detail here. So, who knows? What's that one? Bit hard to work that one out there. So these are on film, not digital camera. So that one looked like it had two little things underneath it there. So here we go, that one's like an egg-shaped one with a flat bottom. What's that one there? Norway. That's kind of crazy. Looks like it's got a vapor trail coming off it. That one turned out to be a missile test, wasn't it?
Missile.
Yep. So we know all this now after years of looking at all this stuff. Another Hollow Man Air Force one. I don't know what that is. And that one there looks like it could be a smoke ring in the sky, doesn't it? Fort Worth Transformer explosion creates those little ones. This one's a really good one. Edwards Air Force Base, California. That one definitely looks like an experimental craft or a UFO, doesn't it?
But you know, people say there's no good pictures of UFOs that are. You just could look for them. But of course, they're only photographs and they can be
Well, they are a bit
Manipulate.
blurry. This one's a famous one
Photograph
too.
is never anything going to be that's conclusive.
Yep. But we haven't got rolling shuttered problems back in those days. So
No.
look at this one. It's got a little dome on top, or hole at the bottom, or something.
Like Murphy Island, the donut shaped craft.
Yeah. But you haven't seen any triangles yet, though. That's the main thing here. It's still in the 50s.
Yeah, they didn't really appear till the 80s, Paul.
Hawaii. See, that looks like a big tic-tac bright light thing. And what we got this one here, Argentina, 1960 now. And what we got here, 3 flying together. So, of course, that one could be fake. Don't know. That one looks like a little chubby type one. But you can see a lot of Mexican hats, you know. Here's a Mexican hat. Italy. What's this one here? South Africa. That's a strange looking one.
It looks like a button.
Does, doesn't it? Could be a fake. That looks like something we've seen before. Is that? Yeah, it could be, couldn't it? Not sure on that one. Australia. That's not over a field, is it? I don't know. Looks like a paddock underneath here.
I'm not sure if my sound is corrupt, then I can hear a little bit of corruption there. If anyone on the side can let us know, please.
I'm not hearing any corruption myself. Oh, here's a good one. Look at this one. That definitely looks like a real object, but could it be a hubcap?
Yeah.
What's that? I don't know. Not enough detail on that one. Look how bad this one is. But that looks like a tic-tac. New York.
Nah, it looks more like the gimbal.
Look at this one. This is an egg shape. I'm not sure what we're meant to be looking at there. Ah, this strange one. We thought it was an ice hockey puck, didn't we?
Yeah, we did, yeah. Thanks, Dal.
Oh, right. That one was on that collection of photographs where it was miniatures. I'm not sure. This looks like long exposure. What's this? This is a strange looking one. Looks like a saucer on the side here with the bottom bit underneath. Looks like something from, what's that one? Lost in Space UFO. 2 flying together. We got a hexagon one. We're getting into 66. I'm not sure if they had helium balloons that shape back then. Oh, there we go. That one looks like it's got a dome on top. 1966. Still more Mexican hat saucers. Flat bottom with a dome on top. That one looks like classic saucer. You know, if you saw that out in the backyard, you'd be really happy to see that, I reckon. This one, I don't know. Not really good, is it, that one? Lake.
Oh, I'll just get blimp.
Could be a blimp, that one. What's that there at the back, though? Could be a tail fin, I suppose.
Yeah, fine, yeah.
2 lights, another tic-tacs or whatever. Because we ain't got colour, which is a problem. We want to see what colour they were. Whether they had blue or not. So you can see, we're seeing a few of these ones.
Sorry, people are going on and about, no, there was no tic-tac UFOs then.
Look at that one.
Well, the thing is, tic-tacs weren't invented till 1969.
Right.
So nobody was going to describe an elongated object as a tic-tac at that time, were they?
No. Look at this one. This one looks very clear, whatever it is.
It's a saucer on its side.
Or it could be a sphere. We're seeing this one a few times, but in different locations. Very black. And that one there looks like a blimp. Submarine shape. But there were, back in those days, a lot of people experimenting out in Texas, you know, in the backyards there in America with their own sort of airplanes and balloons and blimps. That one's kind of looks like a lolly. Yeah, I find this video, you can see we only got way into it so far, but yeah, it's got a lot of photographs to look through. This one's got to be Billy Meyer, surely, but it says Rhode Island there. California. That's kind of strange looking thing. Another smoke ring, maybe.
There's a donut.
Oh, here we go. That's a Tic Tac.
Nah, it's more bullet shaped. It's more like Fukuoka.
I suppose it could be, yeah. We're seeing the rear end of it. That one there looks like a bird or a plane to me. But what year was that? 67. That one looks like a Zeppelin. See, it's got a little cabin thing underneath.
Yeah.
What's this one here coming up? Another saucer one. It's definitely a classic dome on top. Another cigar one.
No, it looks like an air balloon as well.
And we've got another dome on top one here.
Quite a prominent dome on that one.
Yeah. What's this one? Looks like it's in space, that one. I don't know. What's that in the
Big
background?
eyeball.
Romania. It's hard to know if that's a cut in the cloud or what. So now we get into Peru. That kind of looks like two, you know, black things in front of a photograph that's been superimposed. But I like these ones that actually got some detail on it, at least, you know. Here we go, we finally get into colour ones. 1969. That one didn't have a location on it. This one, Japan. That one looks interesting here. Look. Is it a fake? We don't know.
Yeah, well, that's it. The clearer it is, the more people shout CGI or
Yeah,
fake.
that's kind of a strange one too there. Oh, here we go, we've got a classic saucer one again. Flat bottom, dome on top. That one looks like it's got a beam coming down on it there. So we've got no place names on some of these ones. That looks like it's got a dent in the roof. Could it be a hubcap, that one? You know. I hate fakers, people that fake stuff. It really ruins the whole field, really.
We don't have to muddy the waters, but it makes it more challenging, doesn't it?
Yeah. I suppose the government want people to put fakes out there, though, right? Lunar surface moon. NASA. Apollo 16 photograph. So I'm not sure what that is. Oh, here's a good one. Indonesia. But could that be a bird, you know? Now, how many times have we seen that one, you know, with the black, just a round, oval shape? Now, this one's definitely got a bit of a slope on it. Again, that could be one of those lights on a one of those cord lights that you don't see the cord because it might show up in camera. That's the only problem with these ones. It could be like a street lamp with the wire going across. Anyway, I suppose we should move on. I'm not sure what that one is. I know it's interesting looking at all these old photographs. It's hard to know if that's a bird or not, you know, that one. New York again. Kind of strange looking round circle with a black thing around it. Well, that one looks like a dome saucer one again.
Watch battery.
That one definitely looks like a lampshade or UFO, who knows. Argentina again. There's this black round circle again, but it's in colour this time. Very strange. Well, we got 5 people watching, so we ain't going too bad. Back to Japan again. 74. Jellyfish, Denmark. That one looks like it could be a balloon though, doesn't it? It's got the lines going down the side. That one, I wouldn't have a clue what that is.
So clean cut, isn't it?
Big mothership of some kind. Again, here we go, we got the normal Mexican hat one. And again, another Mexican hat. But you can see how common they are, and we've been going through all the years here. Seems like the most common design. Another Mexican hat one. Is it a model? Is it a fake? Or is it real? Who knows? Switzerland, that one. So that could be Billy Meyer, could it? Switzerland? Don't know.
He was Swiss, wasn't he?
That photograph looked too good to be his one, though. And we got Japan again.
That looks like a typical.
Admiral's D one. There's that black,
yeah.
another black circle one. France. But they're all over the place, you know. The people are hoaxing it in the same way, right? You can start to see patterns over the years.
You do?
There's 3 sources to give us. Switzerland, so I'm not sure if that's a Billy Meyer one. I think it might be, is it?
No, I don't think it was. No, that's 1976.
Unfortunately, we got no names who took the photographs with, but yeah. What have we got here? Does look like a Mexican hat going that way with an edge. Another Mexican hat, so it's so common. Or is that one triangle? Could that be the first triangles that we're seeing now?
It could be.
Mm.
Well, David Marler, in his book, he believed there was triangles around from the late 1800s, you know, or late 19th century.
Yeah.
But I felt like he was clutching at straws a little bit to find cases before Hudson Valley.
There's another black oval circle. That's so common, that one. We've seen at least 10 of those so far. And here's another one. Mexican hat one. We've seen that one a few times too. Germany. That looks like the Trent one, isn't it? With the little thing on the top.
Absolutely, antenna of sorts, yeah.
That one. Kind of looks like it's 3-dimensional. See, these ones are good because you can see there's definitely 3D aspect to it now because of the colours.
Mm-hmm.
Brazil ones I'm always a bit skeptical of, you know, because they do a lot of fakes down there. Spain, that looks like a triangle one almost. Well, what would you call that? A round bit and a flat back on it.
I would say in South America they were less developed to be faking stuff, especially in the
California.
50s, 40s and 50s anyway.
California, it's got a little blobby bit on the
What
top
they
here.
were trying to be genuine.
Okay, so this one here looks like a lampshade hanging from a tree to me. Right, classic lampshades, right. That one's got to be a forgery. Oh, here's a tic-tac. What year is that one? 79. Italy.
You could call it a cylinder as well, couldn't you?
Yep. Southern Germany. Bit hard to tell what that one is. Could be a bird or gull. Multiple lights, New Zealand. Not sure what that's meant to be. That looks like a Chinese lantern. That one, doesn't it? That one's someone's drawn a big circle around it. So obviously it wasn't the original photograph there. Oh, here we go. We got another tube one, 1980.
Cylinder.
And now we got the volcano ones, by the looks of it. It says Island of Canada. Circle of lights here. So now if we see that in the sky, we think of lead kites, don't we? This one could be a reflection on glass, I reckon, but it's hard to know.
It could also be a triangle or chevron shaped.
This Mexico. This is that guy. What's his name? DS. I think it is.
He was a bit dodgy, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was dodgy. He was saying the UFOs are living creatures, and to me they look like paper mache that he's put candles in. There's another ring one as well, similar to that other one we saw. So we're only halfway through at the moment, but I'll stop it in a minute. So here we go. We got a fighter jet with this thing here, so I'm not too sure about this one. But I know they did have those blimps that they had launched from submarines for target practice as well as decoys. Here's one next to a power line. But you can't beat having video. If they had video of these, that would be a lot more interesting. Brazil again. It's hard to know if that's a bird going that direction. There's the beak here in the wing. That looks like a bird as well, with the wing coming up, you see. It's too blurry, you see.
Could just be motion blur.
Yeah, on film.
To make it look like a beak.
That one's obviously pixelized. Don't know what it is. That one looks like it could be similar to, what's his name? Golf Breeze guy. It looks like it's got windows going around it there. So that's one good thing if you collect photographs of UFOs over the years.
Yeah.
This one
Ed
was
Walters,
yeah, Ed Walters.
We covered that quite well last Saturday.
Yeah, I'm still not sure whether he faked it or not. I'm still 50-50 with the guy. I know he did do check fraud. This one is apparently a water droplet on the lens. So I know that one now. In fact, I'm going to talk about that on Sunday. Los Angeles, California. That one looks like it's got something underneath.
Yeah, some appendage of some kind.
Yeah, we've seen similar to that before, haven't we? This big blob of red. I don't know what it's meant to be. To me, that looks like part of a car that's been chucked up in the air, like a cop body.
Yeah, it could also look like a jellyfish at a different angle.
And again, that looks like it could be like a hockey puck or whatever, you know. And there's that Mexican guy again. I think they're just things, models that he's made.
Right.
Anyway, we'll leave it there and people can watch the rest. We got up to 29 minutes there, but we did skim a bit.
Yeah, it's interesting stuff.
Yeah, it's good looking over old photographs, especially when you go back to it after doing years ahead. It definitely looked like one there was similar to the Gulf Breeze one, which, you know, if there's other pictures that you come across that's very similar to the design that he saw, that sort of makes it more valid, I think, that maybe he wasn't hoaxing it, you know. But anyway, so we got some other things to do now, is it? Where did we get to?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, we got to the end of that. So we're on to the next.
Stephenville.
Yeah, we're on to the next case, aren't we? So we're at Stephenville now. So
Yep,
that's
sure
in Texas as well.
Yeah.
But the problem here is you can start to see that's around a lot of Air Force bases. Fort Worth there.
Yeah. It's followed them in close proximity. Unfortunately, this case ended up revolving around one person, a guy called Ricky Sorrells, who claimed, some extraordinary things. But we'll have a look into him now.
And apparently, it was going towards, was it the Bush's Ranch or something? I remember something about
Crowley Ranch. It was going directly towards them, and it was Bush Jr., W.H. Bush, yeah, and he was there at the time as well. So I thought that was quite funny, actually.
Yeah, so we haven't actually got any pictures, but yeah, we'll come back to that one. There's just no pictures, photographs, or anything of these objects apparently flying in the sky.
Well, they were moving kind of quick.
Yeah, so can't really show you anything on that side of things. But we got that, and we'll just type in your link. Carry on with the next case. I think your volume's working all right there, Robert. I didn't hear any crackle my end.
Yeah, Dal said that my volume is fine.
I think what happens is between us, we're on a different level than what's being recorded. Sometimes it cuts out, but that's all right. Normally, if it cuts out, I stop talking, so you come through. You see. So we want to read out some of this, I guess.
Yeah, as much as you can, and I'll do the rest.
Let's see. We'll see how much we can select. Oh, scrolls too quick for some reason. So we got enough? Yep, that'll do for now. Oh, is that the wrong one? No, that's the right one.
Sightings of the strange lights over the small town of Stephenville, Texas, in January 2008 witnessed by multiple people is largely considered one of the biggest sightings of the early 21st century. Perhaps further adding to the credibility of the incident, was how various government agencies would respond. They would stonewall attempts by groups such as Muffin to determine just what dozens of people had seen that evening. Stephenville UFO drawing. The state of Texas is no stranger to UFO sightings and bizarre lights in the sky. And what's more, these accounts date back to the late 1800s. Might this latest mass sighting simply have been a continuation of sightings that have been happening for over a century? Check out the video below. It is one of the initial news reports in the Stephenville sightings.
So we're probably safe to play that one if it's a news report.
I'd imagine you are.
But you never know nowadays. That's the problem. America. What channel is that? American News. Never heard of it.
So I wasn't asking you to play these, like, I've got enough here without actually playing the YouTube videos,
Oh,
but still.
We'll speed it up a wee bit. It's only 3 minutes.
All right, so what was it, huh? Stephenville, Texas is a farm town where when the sun goes down at night, the stars light up in the sky. And last week, witnesses claim they saw something hovering hundreds of feet above the ground, and they say they saw fighter jets, F-16s, chasing these mysterious objects. What gives? Pete Hardinger is the director of the Round Town UFO Society. He's in Circleville, Ohio. Sir, good morning to you.
Hello there.
You did not witness what's described in Texas, but if I told you the following, that they say it was a mile long and a half-mile wide, it was, quote, positively, absolutely nothing from these parts. What would you say?
Well, I'd have to decide it was an unidentified flying object. Then we're supposed to have some MUFON investigators go to Stephenville and investigate. I've been a member of the Mutual UFO Network for several years.
So you're going to go down there and check it out?
No, not myself. We have investigators in every state in the country, and so there'll probably be some local investigators.
Okay, what do the witnesses say? He watched it through his rifle's telescopic lens and describes it as a very large and without seams, nuts, or bolts. Have you heard a description like that before, Pete?
Yeah, there's been descriptions like that before. The so-called Phoenix Lights, years ago, there weren't flares in that. A huge object was first seen even by the governor of Arizona fly over, and that was a huge object at the time, so that's kind of similar, you might say.
By the way, on the screen, that's a superimposition there that we crafted up here from previous stories.
Fox News happened to be there at the right time with the right camera.
If we saw that, that would be our lead story this morning. It would supersede Michigan, right? Now, Pete, back to the issue here. We are told that the illusion could have been created by two commercial airplanes. Lights from the aircraft would seem unusually bright and may appear orange from the setting sun. Does that explain this away?
It doesn't to me, but what will help is when the Mutual UFO Network investigators go and check it out, just like they did the O'Hare Airport deal, November of 2006. So, we'll just have to wait for the results of the investigation, but it does seem very interesting.
All right, Pete Hardinger, thanks. Circleville, Ohio, on the telephone there, head of the Round Town UFO Society. By the way, Megan, 200 UFO sightings reported each month.
That's a big number, Bill.
Not just in a year or a decade, but each month.
You a believer?
Yeah.
You are not alone.
Thank you.
Just a few months ago, the Associated Press took a look at how many American adults think that UFOs do in fact exist. In addition to Bill Hemmer, there are many more. They found that more than a third of American adults are believers. Far fewer than that, however, have actually seen a UFO with their own eyes. See that? The poll shows that only 14% of adults have actually gotten a glimpse of a UFO at some point in their lifetime. Are you part of that group, Bill?
Maybe.
You think you've seen something?
What about you? I'm too busy editing this tease that we're about to read, and I want to make sure that it comes out the right way. About girls in puberty. Back on the you're going to hear about that.
So
in a
they're not
second,
taking it too seriously, are they?
There's got to be. When you fly in an airplane, and there's just so much space up there and down below.
Yeah.
There's got to be something out there. When you get out in the countryside and you look up at the stars, they go forever. Galaxies out there much larger than ours.
It's an exercise in ridicule, isn't it?
Well, that's what I'm here for.
Nothing here, guys. Move on.
I see that's on that fraud called Scott, what's his name? Scott C. Warren. Looks like his face picture up there. So, yeah, he gets he gets clips of stuff posted around and gets more traffic.
Yeah. It's a bit like the media in this country, in the UK. They take clips off Tyler's site ST10, don't they?
Yeah, UK's bad for that.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so read out the next bit then. Looks like the counters are not going to be fixed this live stream anyway.
No.
Yeah, that one. That's right.
Stephenville, Texas, January 2008. On the evening of 8th of January, 2008, multiple people would witness a strange array of lights seemingly belonging to one solid object in the night skies over Stephenville. There were dozens of official reports to go on record. All matched each other in terms of detail, description and times of sightings. The object had several lights along its side, all of which were flashing. Their sequence seemed to be of a predetermined and purposeful order. Maybe even stranger, for an object as huge as this was, it appeared to produce no noise. It simply silently hovered over the bemused residents of the town. One witness, pilot Steve Allen, would use his professional experience to judge the object's size at around half a mile, while he estimated its speed upon ascending to be around 300 mph. Another witness, the police officer, Leroy Gateman, independently verified Allen's claims as to the speed of the craft. He would state it was so fast he couldn't track it with his binoculars. The media presence made sure the story spread far and wide, including on the internet, where speculation was rampant.
So that's quite interesting. The size of it there and the lights sounds almost like the Phoenix lights there to me.
Yeah.
What year was that?
2008, wasn't it?
No, this one, but when was Phoenix lights?
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, there's been multiple sightings all over Texas, to be honest, but what do you expect, the 5 Air Force bases there?
No, I was just thinking that when was the Phoenix lights, when did that happen? I can't remember what the year number
Oh,
was.
1997.
So, yeah, that sounds right, yep. So this Phoenix lights was way before this one. Could it be the same craft coming back, you know? They said that it seemed to be all one object there. And as a mile big, they said. It sounds almost like the Phoenix lights to me.
It does, yeah.
So check out, what's this one? Check out the video below. It features.
It also sounds like Stephenville. Sorry, I mean, it also sounds like Hudson Valley. It also sounds like the Belgian wave again, doesn't it? You know, and there's plenty of, you know, corroborating evidence for these very large triangular shaped craft.
Not sure if we could play that video or not. AP.
No, I didn't ask for you to play that. Like,
right, okay.
the only thing that would be handy if you could play a bit of it is the testimony of Ricky Sodres, because at first I thought his tales were a little bit too fantastic until I heard him, and he seems quite sincere. But we'll get to that anyway.
Yeah, Dale, the stats counters, the website that produces them, because Google doesn't provide the stats counters. It should be part of their service. So they have to use a third-party site that scrapes the data for you and puts it into a nice format, so you can just have it on the screen. But it looks to me like his server's got a fault, or Google have done something to stop it working, which is probably more the case. So yeah, I've sent him an email, maybe because he's in America, he's probably still in bed. He's a gamer, so he might be gaming and not even read his emails, you know. So we'll read out more of this, I guess, in that case. So at the moment it says 5 watching and 3 likes, so thanks for liking this, guys. Does help. We do get some haters come along, just knock it down for some reason. But they're idiots, as far as I'm concerned.
Military presence? There were consistent reports of military fighter jets appearing to actively pursue the object. Their presence is perhaps the reason for the sheer speed with which it vanished. Rick Sorrells, who would witness the object from the woods while hunting deer, even claims to now be a target of the United States military or at least an arm of them since appearing on ABC News stating to the audience that the object was real, and it was right there, over the top of him. From where he was, he could see it was easily the length of 3 or 4 football fields. Wow. Following that brief interview, Sorrells has since claimed that military helicopters regularly fly over his home at increasingly low altitude. Several strange phone calls have also been received, and on one occasion, a menacing man appeared at his door. He would tell Sorrells in no uncertain terms, "You need to shut your mouth about what you saw."
Yes, we've heard that a few times, haven't we? Threats like that. But normally it's 2 men, isn't it? Men in black. Are you there, Robert? You seem gone quiet. Robert, I can't hear you. Why can't I hear you? You might have to drop out and drop back in again.
Hello, Paul. Am I back now?
Yeah. Did you mute it, did you?
Yes. No, what I'd done, I leant on the thing and hit the mute switch that's on the button here. It doesn't matter. Yeah. Okay. They normally come in 2s, Paul. You're quite right. But he's making some extraordinary claims here. You know, another thing is, you know, it takes about $2,000 just to get a helicopter off the ground. So I don't know. It's a little bit of a strange way of intimidating someone, isn't it?
Yeah, but still,
And to fly F-16s over his house, I'm not really sure.
Well, with all the Air Force bases around there, they're going to be doing exercises all the time. So, it's hard to know whether he's being paranoid. But
well,
unless he records it, he did. If you had someone come knocking at your door, you'd look on the security camera first, wouldn't you? And you think, "Oh, right, I'm going to need to go and record this and see what they say." Especially after you've seen a UFO sighting, right?
But he'd gone on to CNN telling the story, and he'd gone on to
was it CNN?
a news outlet as well. Can't remember which one it was.
So he went to multiple sources.
Yeah.
Why would they tell him to shut his mouth, though? That's kind of strange.
Yeah, because the whole thing is to keep it quiet. You're just drawing more attention to yourself like that by intimidating the witness, really.
That's right. That's kind of a strange thing to do. Okay. But it's not the first time we've heard people say that they're hassled by various people. You got Stan Romanek also claimed the same thing. And you got that woman in UK. What was that sighting? I can't remember what it's called now.
Which one? There's loads of cases like that where people have been harassed. There's no question of it.
It was like a military fenced it off and something hit the tree and snapped the tree. I can't remember what location it was, but I think it was a Wales one, wasn't it? It's in Wales somewhere.
Oh, was that Berwyn Mountains?
Oh, I can't remember. I don't think that was it. I'm not sure. But she said she was being harassed by helicopters flying overhead and stuff like that.
Well, maybe they were just looking for something,
Well,
that was connected to the UFO incident.
Well, she said they circled her house over and over again.
Okay.
And stuff like that.
Okay.
You sent me the video link to it probably a month ago now.
Oh, I think it was that Cassie. That was an incident in Cardiff, wasn't it? I don't put faith in that case after digging a little bit, Paul.
Right.
But anyway, we'll see.
Yeah. A future case, you reckon? Okay, play the next bit.
Maybe.
Sorrells claimed to have reached for his rifle and asked the man to leave his property. To this, the mystery person stated coldly that, "We have the same weapons as you, only more of them. Make of that what you will." For their part, the military and the government agencies to which they link wished to simply brush the matter aside. They would insist that the jets witnessed by residents were on a training mission, and that any object must have been a commercial liner coming into land. The video below looks at the evening in questions and the aftermath in a little more detail.
Sounds to me like a mothership to me, and I'd want to cover it up.
Yeah, see, that's moving on now.
Do we cover this one? The Lombok lights?
No, but it's not related to the case.
No,
but that's an earlier case. That's 1951 Lombok lights.
Yeah, but it was a collection of lights in a V shape as well. So similar to the Phoenix lights and similar to this case. So maybe you should do that case sometime as well. Separately, maybe.
Okay, let's never link that.
And Levellend Case. What else they got here? Any other related cases? No, just those two. Another link. Yep. Okay.
It's concentrated now a little bit more on Ricky Sodres.
Right. Well, let's see if it loads up.
Okay.
We've got an average watch time of 31 minutes at the moment. Extraterrestrial contact. So where do we go from here? 2 articles on witness Ricky. So that's the same guy that was talking about before.
Yeah.
Do you want to read that out, do you? Okay, it's a letter.
Do you want me to do it? Oh,
no, we can get this reader to do it if you want.
No, I can do it, Can you blow it up a bit, Paul? So I can see it properly. I'm still in a bit of pain here. Ugh.
I think that's about as big as I can get it for you.
Yeah, okay, if you can scroll down for me, Paul.
Where do you want to start there?
Okay. Yeah, that's fine, yeah. Ricky Sobbs is frustrated and a little angry. Since his interview with the Associated Press, Soddles has stayed quiet regarding the daytime UFO sightings on his property near Dublin. And there's more than one reason for his silence. Soddles believes military officials have been harassing him by flying military aircraft over his property at low altitudes at all hours of the day and night. Soddles runs livestock on his place and said the cattle don't react well to the disturbances. It's also been hard to get any sleep. Need to move up a bit for me now.
Oh yeah, I was just checking.
Down for me. Okay, Soddles made international news along with other witnesses on January the 14th after the Associated Press contacted him for his story and took video of the exact spot the UFO was seen along with Soddles' description of the object. Not just once, but 4 times he claims to have seen the massive flying object he estimates to be the length of 3 or 4 football fields. He said he's not sure about the size because the first time he saw it, it was the best view. At that time, the craft hovered directly over him in the woods, about 300 feet above his head, and his view was blocked by tree branches. I don't know why it keeps him back here, Soddles said. He's convinced that someone representing himself as a lieutenant colonel knows what it is, and Soddles wants an explanation. He said the man contacted him by telephone on Jan 15, one day after his interview with the Associated Press. I didn't worry about writing his name down or taking notes, Soddles said. I didn't know what was about to happen, but I think he said he was with the Air Force. That's funny that. This is funny because he recalls the guy's rank, but he doesn't remember his name. I find that a bit off. That's a red flag for me. Okay. Soddles said the conversation started out nice enough. He was sort of nice to me right up. Soddles said he asked me to come to talk to me. So he told me that he needed time to think about it, and then the man became really arrogant. The caller told Soddles he was taking no for an answer, or he wasn't taking no for an answer, and would be out to talk to him. Soddles again tried to politely tell the man he did not wish to have company. After that, Soddles said the conversation became heated, and he told the man not to cross his cattle guard.
So people know what a cattle guard is.
Okay, yeah.
It's like
Soddles said the man responded with, "Son, we have the same caliber weapons as you do, but a lot more of them." Looking back, Soddles said he believes the man was in the area but not able to pinpoint exactly where he lived because he recently built a new home. I actually got up and looked out my window to see if I could see someone at the cattle guard. So I said, so if he was who he said he was, why didn't he stop flying over my airspace with all those helicopters? Soddles said, and he informed me that it was not my airspace, it was his. He told me I'd quit talking about what I saw. He would stop the helicopters. If I'd quit talking about what I saw, he'd quit the helicopters.
Yeah, before you carry on, cattle guard is like iron bars that cattle don't like to step on because the hooves get in between the bars, and it's normally at end
and they will not cross it either. They know damn well that it's not going to be good for them.
Yeah, so they normally put it where they don't have gates, but cattle won't walk over it. So So like a driveway or something like that, entry to the house. But why would he say don't cross the cattle guard? Was that outside his property, he means? Was he at the gate or fence line there? I'm not too sure I understand that, but...
Yeah, the guy's whole story is a bit dodgy, Paul, for me.
Yeah. But forgetting the name is not too bad for me, because sometimes people say, "Hi, I'm Bob," and it sort of goes out your head at the front door when I have people come try and sell stuff. So you never ever sort of think about keeping the name in the head. Yeah, if you knew the rank right, they'd normally have like a name. Would they have a name badge on the outside, being an Air Force person? Would have a name badge?
I think that was over the phone, wasn't it?
No, was it? Oh, okay. Oh, well, you got a wee bit
Yeah.
more here to read out if you want to carry on.
Okay, where's from now?
From the top, I think.
Oh, yeah, Sodler said that conversation in helicopters had quit flying over his property, but the F-16s haven't slowed. So he's still getting harassed a little bit. Before the conversation took place, the suspected military officer, Sodler's related a late-night experience of a large transport helicopter and 3 smaller helicopters. This is where it gets a bit more unbelievable for me.
Mm-hmm.
I get up at 2:30 a.m. to go to work with these helicopters, and these helicopters kept flying over, and I couldn't sleep. Sodler said because it was about time to get up and go to work, I just got up and went outside to see what I could. Sodler said he has a spotlight on his pickup that he uses to look for coyotes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, go down a bit.
Move up.
Up a bit. Okay, that's fine. I went to my truck and turned on the spotlight and shined it up at them. Sodler said it was so close I could see the pilot's reaction. He threw his arms to block the light. He was in one of the smaller helicopters. Then he turned toward me, and I still had the light on. I started to feel uncomfortable, so I turned off the light and waved and went back inside. I was thinking I'd pushed the envelope. I think maybe that's an American term for he'd gone a bit too far. Okay, whatever. Yeah. To top that off, Sodler said an acquaintance, whom he would not name, and formerly a member of the military, told him, "You need to shut your mouth about what you saw." No, so he's an acquaintance, but he doesn't even know this guy. Bit weird. Sodler said he tried to pull the man aside and asked him to explain his statement. He just kept saying the same thing and wouldn't explain. Sodler said, "Now he won't speak to me."
Yeah.
Sodler said, and Sodler seems to say a lot of things here, I'm afraid, because the helicopters disappeared, he now feels the gentleman was actually a member of the military and was high enough in rank that he was able to stop that type of air traffic. If it's a military craft, the American people need to know, Sodler said, a lot of people have seen things around here. I know what I saw, and so do they.
So we've got the second letter here.
Well, I'm damned if I can read that out now. I'm in pain. I'll try if you like.
I can read it out if you want. So, where does it start? War twists in the saga. Monday, February 4th, 2008. Answers. Ricky Sorrells, is that how you say it? Sorrells just wants answers.
Sorrells, I think it is.
Sorrells. In the light of what he's been through, it doesn't seem to be a lot to ask. Witnessing an unidentified flying object 4 times since the beginning of the new year, then having military aircraft whizzing over his land and disrupting his sleep and livestock, followed by a string of mysterious phone calls and in-person encounters with individuals. demanding he shut up about what he saw, and landing unexpectedly in the international spotlight. He's taken a toll on the 37-year-old accustomed to a simple life. If you told me a while back that I would be sitting here talking to you about UFOs, I would have said, no way, not in a million years, Sorrell said. Now I know for the rest of my life I'm keeping looking to find out what it was. Sorrell said he was receiving a lot of support from family and friends, helping him to keep an eye on things. He said that support had been a great help to him. I'm not going to freak out or anything, Sorrell said. I just think that the government should come forward and help us figure out this thing. I think people should write to their congressman or something. Sorrell said soon after his Associated Press interview went around the world in mid-January, not only was he allegedly contacted by a lieutenant colonel telling him to keep quiet, sort of repeating a lot of stuff here, isn't it? He was also contacted by a woman called Linda Moulton Howe.
This is right. It just starts getting worse.
Howe's website touts UFOs as a crossroads where experts, eyewitnesses, and viewers meet to share the latest updates in Earth and astronomical mysteries, in-depth reports.
And kooks.
Yeah. That go beyond the 6 o'clock news. UFOs reporter and editor Linda Moulton Howe is an Emmy Award-winning TV producer. I don't know if I could read all this out. I don't think I could read any more of this. She may have been. She may have been good in her younger days, but now she just believes everything that comes along her way. And
well, you know what's done that? Because that's a load of disinformation that's done that to her. And now she's believing every damn thing.
Yeah. So really, it's just plugging her here for some reason.
Yeah.
Earthfiles.com's received the 2006 W3 Silver Award. So it's plugging it. Yeah. Must be mates with her. Anyway, Sorrell said he vaguely remembered listening to her on a radio program.
Now come on, wait there, stop now. He vaguely remembers. Hold on. Does that mean to say he was already into that show? I think it does, you know.
Radio show probably would have been coast to coast, would be my guess.
Yeah, maybe so. But so he was already listening to a load of kooky stuff.
Yeah, well, on a road trip, and her name clicked with him. It was the only familiar name he knew, and she promised to do an investigation, so he agreed not to talk to anyone else until she could make the trip from New Mexico. Is that where she lives, is it? Howe arrived in Dublin last week and stayed with Sorrell's and his family to conduct the investigation, and left late last week. Where we go? I told her everything I knew, showed her my property. Sorrell said after she left, I felt I had honoured my commitment with her. Things have settled down a little, and I feel free to talk about the experiences I've had. I just didn't want to do anything that would interfere with her investigation, because I want the truth. He said the last time he saw the object, he was able to get the video on his camera phone, and said he has seen some other pretty good footage taken by others. So where's this video then? One night, Sorrell said he had 4 helicopters flying at such low altitude that when a spotlight was shined up at them from Sorrell's pickup, he could see the pilot.
We've gone over that. You see, I don't believe that. Couple of grand, couple of $1,000 for one of those helis to get off the ground. Yeah, times 4. That's £8,000 flying over his house just to harass him when a bullet costs pennies. But we'll get to the bullet as well. He found the bullet in the woods. Oh, God, man. The guy's just getting worse,
So you don't want to read out this one here?
I think he spoilt the case, because there's a real case here. There was a Stephen Allen, who was a pilot, who actually seen the object. But
well, he says, I was in bed asleep, Sorrell said. I kept my bird dogs on the east side. Bird dogs? And 3 others on the west side. The black lab doesn't bark until someone comes across the cattle guard. And the Ketalua, how do you say that? Doesn't bark until she actually sees someone. They were all barking, so I got up to see what was going on. Well, dogs do have very sensitive hearing. I was walking Charlie tonight over the park, and it's got a house next door, and they got dogs. And I stepped off a branch that was going to hit me in the face, and they heard it.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't make much sound, but they heard it from probably a good 20, 30 meters away. So,
well, that's quite possible, yeah.
So definitely, they can sense someone that's around your perimeter of the house for sure. I went around the bed and grabbed my rifle. His family was still sleeping, so with one hand on his gun and one hand on his back door knob, he peered through the window of the door to see if he could spot the intruder. It's funny how he didn't let out the dogs to go and scare who it was off. So here we go. He had positioned himself between the car and the pickup 40 to 50 feet away from my back door. He stood staring at me, rocking back and forth. I don't think his feet were moving, but the next morning when looking at the tracks, I could tell they were. Okay. Not sure I understand that, but Sorrell said it was cold and mist and rain, and it was obvious the guy was dressed for the elements with heavy parka-like coat. He said he strained to see if the man carried a gun, but could not see. Could clearly see the face of someone he thought to be in his late 20s or early 30s, judging from the way he walked and acted. I'm trying to decide whether or not to open the door. Sorrell said, we're just standing there face to face looking at each other. I'm thinking he's dressed for the elements and the dogs are raising such a ruckus. He must know he's in danger of being caught. That's when I realized he wanted me to see him. Scare tactics. Okay. Sorrell said that Trespasser had positioned himself in such a way he decided he could be vulnerable if opened his door. He thought his family and the man slowly turned and walked into the woods. Sounds like a good way to get shot, doesn't it? He walked through the area where it cleared the bush, so apparently had been there before because he knew where to go. Sorrell said shortly after the unwelcome caller disappeared, the dogs calmed down and he stayed up the rest of the night to keep watch. So later, when walking through the woods on his property with Linda Howell, he decided to return to a bare spot where the property line ends at the fence. It washed out there and liked to go there to look for deer and turkey tracks. So Raoul said he's an avid hunter and keeps abreast of the wildlife on his place. He said he had not been to the particular spot in about a month. The first thing I saw was a man's footprint. Miss Howell videotaped me putting my footprint beside it. The sun was going down and I saw something shiny.
Okay, I'll leave it. I'll take over from there, Paul.
Alright.
Sodwell said he walked over and picked up a bullet, a shiny new 25/06 Remington with some dotted tarnished smudges. I think the man that I saw that night dropped this bullet, and the tarnished spots are from mist and rain that night. Sodwell said, I just think it was the military showing me they could get to me if they wanted to. Sodwell said he just doesn't think a hunter poaching on his property would have dropped the bullet. He said he doesn't have trouble with poachers, while he knows there is no way to prove it. It could have been from the same man. It's something he keeps mulling over. Sodwell returned home with the bullet in hand and took it apart to look at the powder, see if he could glean any information at all. A local gun and ammunition authority said there was no way to identify if such a bullet was from a military source. Well, of course not. They're not going to use different gunpowder, are they? What a stupid thing.
They might have serial number on it though, or something like that.
Oh,
I don't know. What they normally have some codes stamped on the bottom of bullets, don't they?
mate, I think this guy's full of shit.
You're the skeptic. That's a turnaround, though. So, I've heard that other countries are releasing information on what they know. Sorrell said we're thinking of calling it the site Stephenville Lights. Too many people have seen something hot, not to try and continue finding out about it. We want to know what it was. Yes. He didn't talk to Mufon though, did he? He only talked to Linda Modern Hell.
Yeah. Never was corrupted.
I can say I've never been a fan of Linda myself. She can talk when she gets on the radio. She talks and takes over, I find, as well. And the host doesn't get a word in. What is it? Norway normally has her on.
Do you want to move on to what I think may have happened, Paul?
Yep. We got another link, have we?
Yeah, I'll plant it for you now.
I thought I already had it.
I may have done, but I'll do it again anyway.
We got 4 constantly watching, so that's fairly good. 4 likes now, thank you very much. Here it is, it's 2:30 coming up AM in New Zealand. Oh.
Okay, you got that one?
Yeah. A different perspective. Men in Black.
Yeah,
this
scroll
one's
down quite a way there, Paul, please.
Yeah. Wow, there's already big font on it.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of these ones that's got terrible alignment on it. Is this Randall's site again, isn't it?
It is. It's his blog.
So you want to scroll down, how far? Oh, it's
Whoa.
not much there.
Whoa, slow down. Slow down. Nice and slow, please.
Okay, you want me to scroll, do you?
I know there's delay.
So about CNN. Newspaper reports. Whereabouts do you want to stop?
Yeah. Keep going.
Zeros according to what?
Yeah, okay. Just go to the bit while I'm skeptical.
And I'm just trying to see that. So here we go.
Okay. Nah, nice one. Ideal. There we go. Okay. While I'm skeptical that the man who called was in fact an Air Force officer, and I found his overblown rhetoric somewhat offensive, I don't know what to make of the next incident. Sovrel said that he had been in bed asleep when his dogs began to bark, which they didn't do unless someone entered Sovrel's property. Looking out his bedroom window, he saw a man standing at the top of his driveway. Sovrel told the newspaper, meaning I will assume he, a joiner, that he could see the man clearly, that he was in his late 20s or early 30s, and he was wearing a heavy parka-like coat. Okay, down a bit, please. Sovrel said that with the dogs making so much noise that the man must have known he'd been seen, and then Sovrel thought that was exactly the point. The next day, Sovrel went out in search of the area. He found a bullet, which was shiny, meaning that it hadn't been out in the elements very long and might have belonged to the man seen before that night. There was speculation that what was involved here was operational security, or OSPEC. This is a military term used to suggest that classified plans and missions stayed classified until that mission has ended. Mm-hmm. Here it would suggest that there had been something going on in a military operation area near.
Renee's asking
Can't read any further.
Renee's asking you a funny question inside there. Robert, do you own a farm? Renee.
No, Renee, it's just my name.
He owns a firearm, though, I think.
Yeah, I do. Yes, I do. Yeah. Which is a fancy term to say flight corridors used in military training. Personally, I can't see any OSPEC priorities here. The mission, whatever it might have been, was over, and for witnesses to talk about what they had seen wouldn't compromise much of anything. If the man who called Sovrel's was actually military, as in the phone call, was actually military, and the man standing at the end of the driveway was military, then all they did was call attention to the sighting. The best course of action was to ignore it and not bother the witnesses.
Mm-hmm.
That's perfectly logical.
Yeah.
Was Sovrel called by someone who identified himself as military? ? I have no reason to doubt this, meaning he got the telephone call, but not that he was military or acting in an official capacity. I will note this is strange. It is strange that only Sovrel's had this experience. If he'd seen something different than the others had seen, then such action only called attention to it. Not the best way to keep the secret. Was there a man at the end of his driveway in the middle of the night? Again, I have no reason to doubt this either. I think Randall is being nice here. Was he military? I sincerely doubt it, for the same reasons as mentioned above.
What's Renee saying? Did you see Phoenix UFO? We actually did when John first joined the Out There channel, first time on air. He actually talked about Phoenix lights. So you can go and find that live where he first joins us. I'm not sure which one it will be, but it'll be like in, let's see, 50s maybe? Low 50s, a long time ago now. You could do the search on the side, say John, look for the word John or something, or story, and he talks about his UFO sighting. I don't think John's on at the moment, because I think it was like early morning over there, isn't it? So he probably fallen asleep. So yeah, you got up to this here.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. There's one other aspect of that bothers me, of this that bothers me. Sodler said that he shined a light into the cockpit of one of the helicopters that had been bothering him since the sighting, and the pilot threw up his hands to block the light. This doesn't seem right to me. I would have thought the pilot would have turned the aircraft, raised the nose, dived, something other than put his hands in front of his face. Why? Question mark. Because he would need both hands to fly the helicopter, and Sodler's didn't mention a second pilot in the aircraft.
How's Robert sounding there on the guys? He's not crackling, I hope.
Okay, okay. So where does this leave us? I believe Sodler's.
Hey, the counters are fixed. Sorry.
Okay,
I got excited then.
No concern.
He's obviously read.
So where does this leave us? Oh, stop it. I believe Sodler's, but I don't believe that the caller or the man at the end of the driveway in the military. There's no reason for them to be there and no reason for them to attempt such intimidation. I do know of other cases in which others made these sort of harassing calls and who made their sort of appearances because they didn't like what a witness was saying. I found very little evidence that such happens except in very few notable cases. Here, I just don't see it. So what he's saying is that some nutcase has intimidated Sodres. He's found his address after he's been on these various news shows. He's just been given a bit of hassle. But it doesn't take away from the case, you know?
No.
Because if you look at Stephen Allen, the pilot who was on the ground at the time, he gave a very interesting story. I think that the case has been muddied by this guy.
Yeah.
As many cases are.
Did you read out the last bit there? Well done.
Yeah, I've done it. Yeah. No harm done. Yeah, no real harm done.
Stephenville itself is one of the perhaps a few dozen cases out of the many thousands reported which has significant data to present a very strong case for a genuine UAP. So that must be a modern comment, is it? In my opinion, there are sort of planes often seen to crop up, but as far as I can see, have no means of being tested at this time, and the net effect seems to be largely to reduce the overall credibility of a report to a casual observer of the scene who may not be aware of the hard data. So what hard data? They talked about radar tracking, I guess. How many people saw this large craft?
Well, Stephen Allen, he's seen it. And it was chased by two F-16s. And what happened, Paul? The military denied there was any F-16s in the air. And then, I think it was about 10 days later, they said, oh, well, actually, there was, but it was a training exercise. And there was 10 F-16s in the area.
And did they drop any flares?
No, they never claimed to drop any flares. Let's have a look now at the MUFON website.
Right, have you posted?
It's only brief.
Did you post the link?
I'll do it now.
Okay. And what's this one saying here? You dropped off. I haven't. Here he comes again. What's going on there, Robert? You dropped off.
Yeah, it's okay.
Is your volume back?
I hope so.
I think it's lower, actually. I think it's alright though. People down the side will let us know. I was just reading this. I haven't done any. Oh, hang on, I've got the echo one. I haven't done any homework, so maybe I don't have the right to comment. Nobody needs to reply. But I'm curious, and this is about the sightings, not the Men in Black aspect. Was Stephenville just nocturnal lights in the sky, or were any data points, radar, or other technical measurements obtained? Hey, that's what I just said. Stephen tried the following two references. Okay, move on. That's where Robert's come up. So here we go. So you must have read this, Robert. You knew what was coming.
Oh, yes.
You sneaky. Okay, so let's load this next one up. I'll just do a volume check as you talk. You're going to read it out, or I'll get the reader to do it.
God, there's anything left of that reader. I'm sorry, listeners, but I mean, quite a lot of pain, got a trapped nerve. I have to lean forward to actually read out. It's not nice.
You need a tablet so you can lean back and lay on.
Yeah, I need to take a couple, Paul, while I've been on the live and I'm not clicked in yet at all. There's not much you can do with trapped nerve, it's one of them.
So we may lose Robert to doing his Saturday.
Nah, you're not losing me.
So I want to read out this. George W. Bush. Oh, there we go. There's Bush.
Yeah, it's fun.
Oh, did I miss something? No, not really. Instant as reported.
Just the introduction. Yeah, carry on from there, Paul.
The Muffin Report, entitled Special Research Report Stephenville, Texas, was written by Glenn Schultz and Robert Powell. Schultz has radar experience from working at the White Sands Missile Range. Powell has a chemistry degree and has extensive experience with semiconductors from working for Advanced Micro Devices. The report is an analysis of radar records from the Federal Aviation Administration and the National Weather Service, obtained through several Freedom of Information Act (FOIA) requests, and comparing them to witness accounts. Schultz/Powell concluded that the radar data confirms the witness observations of an object, as well as the Air Force's statement that said 10 aircraft were operating in the area. They say that it is too difficult to say what the witnesses saw, but that there was something there. Twice, they say, radar picked up an object traveling at nearly 2,000 miles per hour, and at other times it showed a slow-moving object. George W. Bush and Germaness Angela Merkel in front of Prairie Chapel Ranch in November 2007. Much media attention has been focused on the report's observation that radar records show one of two objects moving directly toward the Prairie Chapel Ranch in Crawford. This is the home of United States President George W. Bush, which has been nicknamed the Western Lighthouse. They did not draw any conclusion as to why such movement was observed. The authors also concluded that military air activity was heavy at the time, but that the radar records show no overt action toward the unknown object. They express concern about the possibility that this could have been a terrorist aircraft with no transponder. Schultz/Powell stated that they felt that they had been stonewalled in some of their FOIA requests by some government agencies. They encouraged the government to more readily provide more information about the incident. The Stephenville incident on January 8 saw dozens of witnesses reporting a large object in the evening sky that hovered above the community before it took off at high speed. Steve Allen, a pilot, observed the object from the ground and described it as being a half-mile with flashing strobe lights. He also said that it was pursued by 2 fighter jets, when it disappeared at a speed he estimated to be 3,000 miles per hour. I don't know if it was a biblical experience or somebody from a different universe or whatever, but it was definitely not from around these parts, Allen said. Another witness was local law enforcement officer Leroy Gateman, who reported it as a red glowing object suspended 3,000 feet in the air. It was so fast I couldn't track it with my binoculars, said Gateman. Rick Sorrells says he saw the object while deer hunting in the woods. You look at the trees, and it was right here, he told ABC News. He estimated it to be the length of 3 or 4 football fields, though he could not be entirely sure due to his vantage point. Sorrells has later claimed that military helicopters have since overflown his property at low altitude and that he has been getting strange phone calls. He also claims that an unknown man came to his door. Even once told him that, "Son, we have the same caliber weapons you have, but we have more of them." After Sorrells grabbed his rifle, and, "You need to shut your mouth about what you saw."
So we've heard that a few times already. So this is the roach.
We have, but that is a different perspective, isn't it? At least now you've got the radar data, so something did happen. It wasn't a one-man story. Now, Steve Allen, the pilot, who was actually having a bee on the ground that the day, he's seen the thing take off at tremendous speed when 2 F-16s were following it. And I think his witness testimony is far more reliable than Sorrells. Although if you listen to Sorrells, he's easily found on YouTube, and he sounds quite sincere. I just think he was mistaken about the intimidation, or maybe I'm sorry to say he's exaggerated things or he's lied about a couple of things. But this is a genuine case that's been muddied a little bit by one witness taking over. So, but fair play to MUFON on this case. They did actually take over and get the radar data. And they've established that something was in that airspace. They've also established there was F-16s flying around at the same time. Now, where they're escorting it, or were they chasing after it? And what was it doing heading towards the bush ranch?
Well, if we had something fly near the present house or ex-president, they probably would send the military jets there just to check it out.
Damn right they would, yeah.
So I guess all this area is Bush's land, the whole thing around here. These look like all fields around here. I suppose
it's not his airspace, is it?
Not sure.
Well, it is technically, yeah.
Can't see any oil fields, so would he have oil pumps on his land? I suppose that could be one there. No. Looks really dry there, doesn't it? Oh. It looks like they've got the... Was that a river there? It looks like a stream or something. No, river. Doesn't look much water in it though. Yes. So they're flying over near his house. There's Waco. Remember that place? Where they set it, building on fire. The cult. Whereabouts was that guy? What's his name? Sorrells located here. Do we know what dress he was at all? I suppose not.
Who now, Paul? Sorry, as miles away there.
Sorrells, location 2W Bushes.
No, I mean I don't know. I mean you'd have to look at the YouTube video with him. To be honest, we can't do that, can we?
Well, there's Stephenville, so I guess he's somewhere in that location there. So the UFOs must have been flying this direction here, south. What's that? Southeast. And where's the S Force bases are around here too. So if we say there, why is it not coming up? Do I have to go back to Air Force Base? Will it give us all of them? There's quite a few there, isn't there?
Yeah, there's at least 4
Texas.
around Stephenville, quite close.
Let's see what
I talked to a couple of guys in Texas, UFO people that I've known for years now, and they both leaned towards it was kind of something military, you know.
Yeah, it's not too far away
you
from.
Know, yeah, well, I think maybe that's you know, but were the F-16s chasing it or were they escorting it? This is the big question. I don't think we can answer that one.
And there's a big military base there.
But you know, this pilot now, Steve Allen. He went on. He put a newspaper article out, and he insisted on one thing, that they gave him, that they put his phone number out in the article, which they did, and he received 60 phone calls within the first day. And he talked to all those people, and they've gathered some kind of case, and I don't really know what's happened since then. But they all seen the same kind of thing as he did, but apparently it made quite a few passovers. If it's the same thing, or I don't know.
So talk about the transponder here.
It's so difficult to piece together.
The mouse is playing up, sorry. Stephenville incident. Saw dozens of witnesses. Why is it playing up, my mouse? It's like someone's taking control of it. Speaking of Men in Black.
Yeah.
Something going crazy with it. Nowadays, it's so easy for a remote control person to get access to your computer. Just accessing websites, and it's a bug in the browser. It allows it to happen. Yeah, so read out the last bit here.
The Stephenville incident on January 8th saw dozens of witnesses reporting a large object in the evening sky that hovered above the community before it took off at high speed. Steve Allen, a pilot, observed the object from the ground and described it as being a half-mile with flashing strobe lights. He also said that it was pursued by 2 fighter jets, when it disappeared at a speed he estimated to be 3,000 miles per hour. I don't know if it was a biblical experience or somebody from a different universe or whatever, but it was definitely not from around these parts, Allen said. Another witness was local law enforcement officer Leroy Gateman, who reported it as a red glowing object suspended 3,000 feet in the air. It was so fast I couldn't track it with my binoculars, said Gateman. Rick Sorrells says he saw the object while deer hunting in the woods. You look at the trees, and it was right here, he told ABC News. He estimated it to be the length of 3 or 4 football fields, though he could not be entirely sure due to his vantage point. Sorrells has later claimed that military helicopters have since overflown his property at low altitude and that he has been getting strange phone calls. He also claims that an unknown man came to his door. Even once told him that, "Son, we have the same caliber weapons you have. But we have more of them." After Sorrells grabbed his rifle, and, "You need to shut your mouth about what you saw. I'm trying to decide whether or not to open the door," Sorrells said to the Empire Tribune. "We're just standing there face to face looking at each other. I'm thinking he's dressed for the elements and the dogs are raising such a ruckus he
so
might..."
I've heard all that saying. So they're saying Sorrells,
not the first time, you know, that cases have come in onto a case, you know, and just found that people pretending to be Air Force or Men in Black, and having a big laugh.
Was there any more that we got for this case at all?
Not really, Paul, to be honest.
Was
No, I mean,
was Hynek? That was Hynek wasn't around then, was he?
no, Hynek had passed away by then.
Who else took over from? Did investigations on the Stephenville one? There must have been someone. Was it Lindsay? What's her name? Leslie Kane? Is it?
Well, no. I mean, she's just a journalist. I think she was a part of MUFON, but it's MUFON's case, and they've done, I don't know, a fairly average job of it, to be honest.
What was the debunks for it? Was there any debunks?
Yeah, let's have a look at that.
I'll just open it. Oh, I think I clicked it too many times. Probably need to close down that. Maybe let's plug in my computer here. What's that one there? Oh, right, that one there was quite interesting too. Maybe just read out that first, about this alien case, which is kind of strange. Let's see if I can scale up the font a bit first. Okay, journal entry. So I'm not sure who this is. Have we got a name?
You have to look for that. Look to the bottom first.
For me, it's Kirk Russell, actor. What was that? The fascinating part of that to me was that it just went literally out of my head, and Oliver never mentioned it. Had I not seen the show, I never would thought of it again. That to me was the weird part. Kirk Russell. Oh, I'm not sure what he means by that.
Or do I?
Okay, so let's just read out some of this then. Talks about this alien down here. Oh, what's happened there? It's doing some crazy things with the mouse here. Well, let's see if it works anyway.
I looked at my desk, covered in papers, and saw a date on a piece of paper that read January 8, 2008 with a note that said, "Draw," and an arrow pointing toward my journal. As I read my journal, I realized that I had an encounter that same night and had made an entry in my journal. Journal entry: I was outside at night and I saw an object flying over me, sort of flittering about in the night sky. I thought it was a craft, but realized quickly as it came closer to me that it was a foot wide. It shot around really fast and made lots of sharp, nearly right-angle turns, moving very fast. Then it got right over my head and flew down toward my head in a spiral or like a slinky when stretched out. I reached up and grabbed it just before it touched my head and it collapsed or rather scrunched in my hands. It felt like a fabric. It was a material-like substance and while being somewhat prickly, it didn't hurt my hands. It seemed alive, but not alive. It was under intelligent control, I believe. But it was not alive in the sense that a bird would be alive. With what I and others have discovered from other abductee experiencer accounts, it is possible this was a type of ET technology that tagged me, i.e., identified me via my DNA or by some other means, thereby allowing the beings operating the technology to send a craft immediately to my location. Because, the next thing I knew, there was a small, green box-shaped craft with a being inside right next to me. I got inside of the craft, which was just large enough for two people. After I was seated, the craft suddenly flipped and I felt a jerking sensation, and we were airborne. As the craft continued to gain altitude, I saw two satellites fairly close up in orbit. They looked just like the ones we have in orbit around Earth. The craft then flipped and jerked again and we moved very quickly, and at that point, I noticed the two satellites were somewhat farther away. We apparently had moved a fairly long distance in a matter of a second.
So he's talking about a foot
Okay,
wide.
okay, Paul. I know for a fact that with the Stephenville case now, there were several people that came forward after the event, not original witnesses, but after the event, that said they had missing time, and some said, the kind of thing that the readers just read out there. That yeah, there was abduction involved. I mean, I don't know how much to read into that.
No,
I'm certainly not going to write it off.
No,
that's for sure.
But he's talking about a foot-long object, like a drone. It sounds almost like.
Yeah.
Come down, spiraling over his head. Doesn't say what shape it was though, whether it's a sphere or flat, oval shape or whatever. Drones would have been really popular back then. That would be sort of coming just around about then. Early prototypes, they would have been expensive too. So let's talk about what's going on here. Doesn't seem to like this web page much. I might have to get a new mouse soon. I think it's playing up.
The next thing I know, I'm inside a structure with large white rooms. I felt as if I was on another, larger craft. There were 2 tall bangs about 6 5 to 7 tall. They looked somewhat human, so I surmised they were hybrids, but I can't be certain of this. They had light tan skin and eyes similar to ours, but they were squinting a bit, like we would in bright sunlight. They had bulging skulls like I've seen before, and right below the ridge on their foreheads was a second set of eyes that looked vestigial. They were there.
Weird.
But looked like they were no longer of any use as organs for sight. These beings were telepathically picking up on my thoughts. And as I studied the
yeah, you're talking over it.
Sorry.
You want me to carry reading it?
Yeah.
The next thing I know, I'm inside a structure with large white rooms.
If I pause
I felt as if I was on another, larger craft. There were 2 tall bangs about 6 5 to 7 tall. They looked somewhat human, so I surmised they were hybrids, but I can't be certain of this. They had light tan skin and eyes similar to ours, but they were squinting a bit, like we would in bright sunlight. They had bulging skulls like I've seen before, and right below the ridge on their foreheads was a second set of eyes that looked vestigial. They were there, but looked like they were no longer of any use as organs for sight. These beings were telepathically picking up on my thoughts, and as I studied the face of one of them, the other one said to me telepathically, "He has redundant sets of eyes." I then looked at the being who was talking to me and realized he also had redundant sets of eyes and looked almost exactly like the being standing apart from me. I found it all very fascinating.
What's quite interesting, he's talking about a 2-passenger UFO that comes down to pick him up. Now, Mojo talked about some...
From the things I've heard, I'm not... I tell you what, I'm not dismissing that at all.
No.
It could be quite real.
If you
watch... perspective anyway.
If you watch my Mojo investigation, I asked him some questions at the end, and one of the things he talked about was that he was heading towards the lights in the forest, and he was crossing a stream or a swampy bit of land, and this mantis, like a single or 2-passenger craft, come up to him, and he could see the mantis was looking straight at him face to face, and then he turned the craft and went on its way. Now you could see that he was no danger, no harm, and he was just making sure he wasn't getting too close to the action, he said in the blurb, if I remember right. So it's probably worth going back and having a read of the email that I pasted at the end there. But yeah, that's quite interesting that this story is talking about similar type of craft. Although beings with redundant eyes is kind of strange. What do we got here? One of the things that are cool. So I'm not even sure who's talking about this here. But
Yeah, see, what you're doing now, basically, is, which is no harm. So you're going on the fringes of the case now.
Let's see, what's this say at the end here? Reports of MUFON. Similar descriptions by witnesses on the ground. Okay, let's just read out that bit there then. Mentally directed not to remember. Is it talking about Stephenville, or is it talking about general stuff though?
Similar descriptions by witnesses on the ground. I also noted that my description of what it felt like and what I saw while inside of the small green craft is similar to what witnesses observed. The flipping and jerking sensations, and then traveling at a great speed to where our satellites orbit the Earth, and then another series of jerking and flipping sensations, and then being on a larger craft. Compare this with the general description of the movements of the lights from eyewitnesses to the sightings as stated by Texas State Director Ken Cherry. The video evidence tends to substantiate witness reports. Primarily, people are describing spheres, which move, turn and twist at great speeds. Sometimes seen in formation. They then suddenly move around erratically. And fewer people report seeing a very large craft. Variously described as bigger than Walmart, bigger than 3 football fields, or a mile long and a half-mile wide. Rather than the Stephenville sightings being a big light show for the humans below to watch and enjoy. It's very likely that people were witnessing ET contact taking place. I am 100% certain I interacted with 2 extraterrestrial beings with 10 skin, although I'll admit, I'm not remembering everything that occurred while I was on board the larger craft with them. One has to ask, how many of these other witnesses were also taken and do not remember the experience? How many other people were taken who never saw the craft or lights in the sky, but perhaps did remember something of what occurred to them, but for fear of ridicule, kept it to themselves?
Yeah, now I'm open to that.
Yep, we know that people can forget things, because we've seen, if you ever watched that Darren Brown illusionist, or whatever he calls himself.
Well, it's maybe you've raised even.
No, he's an expert in NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, where he can interrupt a person's thought and they can't even remember their own name after that, which is kind of interesting. How the aliens know how to do that is interesting as well. Mentally, directly, not to remember. So basically you said that above there. That to me was the weird part. I saw the date over and over again in various email posting. So what's that talking about there? Just read out that bit there. Bit hard for me to see at the moment.
This makes me suspect that I was given a mental directive by these beings not to remember. And if I did remember the event, not to report it. Although I did document what I remembered about the encounter in my journal immediately, I did not make the connection until I saw the date over and over again in various email postings, most of which I deleted without reading. That, to me, was the weird part, as we move to revive this article for publication on our new site. Kurt Russell recently came forward on the BBC with his account of being one, if not the first, pilot to witness and officially report seeing the lights on the enormous craft during the Phoenix sightings in 1997. What is probably second most important about his coming out about his initial reporting of the incident is the fact that he also said this.
That's quite interesting, so we'll just read out that look.
Yeah.
Is he still alive? Did he die of cancer or something? Or have I got the wrong guy?
I'm not even sure who that is, Paul,
I said, well, okay, I'm gonna declare it's unidentified. It's flying and it's 6 objects. We landed, I taxied, dropped him off, took off and went back to Ella. I never said a word. He never said a word. I never thought of it. 2 years later, his wife Goldie Hawn is watching a television show when I came home. And the show is on Office. And I'm kind of hearing the TV going. And I stopped and I started watching, and it was on that event. And that was the most viewed UFO event. Over 20,000 people saw that. I'm watching this and I'm feeling like Richard Dreyfuss in Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I go, what? Why do I know this? And it's not clear to me. And finally they said a general aviation pilot reported it on landing. I never thought of it since then, and I said, that was me. That was me. Wait a minute. I'll go to my logbooks. So I went to my logbooks and there was that flight, at that time, and I didn't mention anything about the UFO. The fascinating part of that, to me, was that it just went literally out of my head. And Oliver never mentioned it. Had I not seen the show, I never would have thought of it again. That, to me, was the weird part. The directive not to remember can be implanted in the minds of both abductee experiencers and simple witnesses to an ET craft. And the directive can be accomplished from a distance. These beings do not have to be in physical contact with someone in order to achieve this outcome. This is why it is easier than people think to keep the UFO issue under wraps. Humans' memories can be, and are, easily controlled or manipulated by some of our extraterrestrial visitors. Researchers refer to this as mind or memory management. When other images are put in place of a real event, or the true appearance of an ET, it is called screen imagery and camouflage.
Yeah, I've heard of screen imagery. So basically Kurt Russell saw the UFO, but he totally forgot about it until he saw the program on the Phoenix Lights, was it? Later on. What program was it? You're back with us. So basically Kurt Russell said he forgot about the UFO sighting. Are you there?
I am.
Kurt Russell, he's the one that did the dancing movies. What was that one?
Mm-hmm.
Was it Dirty Dancing? But anyway, he saw the UFO and he said it was out of his memory until he saw the TV show about the Phoenix Lights. I guess that's what he's saying here. He said it's like they make you forget about it.
Yeah, surely. Yeah. Sometimes that fails. That's what it seems to me.
Yep. Oh well, that's that done.
And people had at least partial memories, if not sometimes full memories, which can be very disturbing.
Oh yeah, especially if you're being stabbed by needles and stuff.
Yeah, and this is where regression can be awfully detrimental. It can induce false memories as well as genuine memories. And if it does induce false memories, then you have to deal with them.
Yeah, so what were the debunks for it? Was there any... Is it worth looking at anymore, or should we wrap up? Have we got it all sorted here? Debunks on Stephen... Well, let's have a quick search. Stephenville.
The only thing, Paul, I'd like to look into a little bit more is Steve Allen.
What, his character, or... Here we go.
I don't think it's
Skeptical Lights.
question.
Skeptical Inquirer. Have we looked at that one? I don't think so. Well,
No,
it's not Skeptoid, it's Skeptical Inquirer. The new UFO interests, scientific appraisals. What actually happened?
Okay, it should be fine.
Oh, look, it's very small writing. Here we go. No. So yeah, I don't think we can read that. It looks like a PDF. Probably what we already read out already. I was looking for any debunks, quick, easy debunks on it. What's going on here?
The fact is, I don't think there's any too quick, easy debunks on either of those cases.
Oh, gone too far now. I think my internet's slowing down a bit. What have we got? Debunks. Must include debunks. UFO fever spreads beyond Texas town. Group based in Arlington that debunks cults. I don't think it's cults. UFOs over Texas. New Mexico, which completely debunks. What's that one there? I don't think it would be easy to debunk on it. What do you want to look at? Alan, was it?
Steve Allen.
Steve Allen. So what do you want me to search on that, do you?
I've just tried myself and...
oh, right.
Nah. It's YouTube anyway.
So I'm just trying to find what that person reckons it is. It's funny how they keep mentioning X-Files and Fox Mulder.
Well, just a piece of trivia now. Did you know the X-Files, where the inspiration came from, that was from an actual UFO program that was called the XF Files, NX Files, I believe. And it was an FBI file that was running during the 70s. Now, it was only a small desk, one person at the head of it.
Yeah.
But they were most certainly investigating UFOs. And that's where the inspiration for the X-Files came around. So it's kind of chicken and the egg kind of thing. So, yeah, interesting.
Well, nothing's really coming up for the debunk side of things. So you can't find anything else on the other guys, so we might just wrap it up, I guess, for over 3 hours.
I think so.
Else our necks might get too sore. And a few people dropped off now. So the counter's finally working, so we can see what's going on. Right. So yeah, thanks people for joining us. It was a couple interesting cases there, and especially looking at those old photos again that I forgot about, and of course we can now sort of debunk or see some being IFOs now in that lot, but there were a lot of Mexican hats there which actually did look like real craft, unless we got a lot of model makers out there. So I find all that sort of interesting, going back over old stuff again.
That was good diversion, to be honest.
Yeah. But I got all these tabs for Sunday coming up, a lot of debunks to look at in other video cases. So that's sort of come out, and some interesting stuff, hopefully. The recent one has come out is about two of the stars have joined up with a army. This one here, DevCom. So I was going to
all about, eh?
Yeah, alien scientist doesn't like it. He reckons they've joined up with the spooks now. But yeah, when you read what they do here, down here, there's a research laboratory as part of the U.S. Military Combat Capabilities Development Command, which has the mission to lead in the discovery, development, and delivery of technology-based capabilities required to make soldiers more lethal to win our nation's war.
That's nothing new, is it?
Yeah. What else
You know,
we
it
got
goes
here?
back to MK Ultra, and look at Vietnam when he tried out, you know, hallucinogens on the troops. That never worked well. They were falling around laughing.
Mm. But
You know, so nothing new there.
But apparently they already pulled all the technical specs off To The Stars website or something. Anyway, Amy and Scientist was talking about it today.
But it's an interesting development. Let's see how it turns.
Yeah. So I'll probably recap that again Sunday. Yeah, something going crazy with my mouse. It's don't know if it's flat battery or what.
Yeah, and I can hear myself corrupting here when I talk.
You sound perfectly fine here. I'm not sure about Google.
Yeah. Well, we'll see when it comes out.
Okay, no one said anything that they couldn't understand us down the side anyway. So yeah, I'm just gonna shut down. And we'll switch to the credits here. Thanks for liking and sharing, and subscribe if you're new. I didn't see any newcomers down the side. I thought there might have been a few, but I suppose it's horrible time in USA at the moment. And maybe more join us Sunday. I'm just having trouble with this mouse for some reason. Here we go. Hopefully it's playing. This is working alright now. YouTube is way behind. Hey. Good night.